12 months ago, if you had asked me, I would have said I was living my dream. I had a nice home, a job I loved, and a wife who cared for me deeply. But now, as I sit in my car looking at a message I received this morning, I can't help but think about all the small changes that have led me to this point. My life didn't change all at once. Instead, it was a series of little changes that made me feel like a frog in slowly heating water, unaware that it was getting too hot. This morning, one thing I believed firmly was shaken: my feeling that my wife loved me more than anyone else. My wife, Jane, was always dedicated to her job as a project manager. When she had to work late, I naturally took charge at home. There had been a big project that started about a year and a half ago, which needed a lot of extra hours from her team. At first, I was supportive. I would bring pizza every week to spend time with her and would meet for lunch to share special moments. But soon, weekends became about resting, and I felt I had to work even harder to keep our relationship strong. Over time, the intimacy we shared decreased from almost every night to just once a week, or even less. I tried to show my love in other ways and became more attentive, showering her with care. After about 6 months, the project ended successfully, and the team was praised for their hard work. They even held a fancy event at a nice hotel where partners were invited. We were having a lovely time until her CEO, Arthur McCain, arrived late. When he walked in, the atmosphere shifted. Everyone seemed eager to get his attention. I noticed that among everyone there, he went straight to Jane. "Jane, my dear, I'm so glad you could make it," he said, wrapping her in a hug that felt a bit too close for my comfort. "And this must be the husband." His tone when he spoke to me was clearly dismissive. I reached out to shake his hand. "Mr. McCain, Jane has shared many wonderful stories about you." He looked at my hand as if it were unclean. "I'm sure she has," he replied before turning his focus back to Jane, placing his arm around her waist. "My love, I want you to meet some people. Come on," he said. And without waiting for my approval, he took my wife away. Jane at least looked back at me with an apologetic expression. I tried to keep an eye on them as they moved through the crowd. I could hear whispers from the others at our table, and their looks showed both pity and sympathy. After about 20 minutes, I started to feel annoyed and decided to find my wife to spend some time with her. I found them standing close together, chatting animatedly. As I got closer but stayed hidden, I heard Jane say, "I had to bring him. He is my husband." Just then, Jane spotted me. The color drained from her face in surprise. "Oh, there you are. I was just asking Arthur if he had seen you." I chuckled without much humor. "You must not have been looking very hard, since I've been right where you left me." Jane exchanged a quick look with her boss before taking my hand. "Come on, let's dance." The rest of the evening passed with awkward conversation between us and exchanged looks between Jane and her boss. Toward the end of the night, Jane said she needed to freshen up and then we could go home. 30 minutes later, she still hadn't returned. I began to feel worried, so with more sympathetic looks from the few people left at our table, I went searching for my wife. I checked the entire room and the restroom area, but I couldn't find her. Just as I was starting to get anxious, one of her colleagues came through a door, followed by a rather disheveled Jane. Jane spotted me immediately and rushed over. "Oh, I was looking for you. Are you ready to go?" As she tried to lead me back to the table, Arthur walked in through the same door. He looked right at me and smirked, sending a shiver down my spine. I froze, looking between him and Jane. When Jane noticed where I was looking, she stumbled over her words. "But baby, too. Arthur just wanted to talk to me about a new project." She pulled my arm and guided me out of the event. The taxi ride home was silent. Jane kept glancing at me as if trying to read my mood. After a while, she placed her hand on mine. "Honey, you're quiet." "Is everything okay?" I looked at her closely and noticed her physically tense up. "What is Arthur's problem with me?" I asked directly. "Who, Arthur? He doesn't have a problem with you. He is just distant with all the partners of his staff," Jane explained, though her eyes told a different story from her words. I shook my head and said, "No, I don't believe that. He was fine with everyone else. He shook hands and talked to them. He didn't call them anything unusual. It's just me he seems to have issues with." Jane looked worried as she shook her head. "Sweetheart, I don't know of any problem. I'll talk to him on Monday and figure it out. I'm sure it's all in your head. When we got home, Jane rushed to the shower, saying someone had spilled a drink on her and she felt sticky. That seemed odd since she hadn't mentioned anything about it earlier. I was trying to make sense of everything that had happened earlier that evening, so I poured myself a drink and sat quietly. I thought about the past few months. Even though nothing was clearly wrong, I felt like something was off, so I decided to pay more attention to things. Half an hour later, I went to bed. Jane was out of the shower and either asleep or pretending to be for my sake. Usually, after a night out, we would spend time together, but given everything happening, I was okay with her pretending to sleep. I wanted to say that once the big project was done, everything would return to normal. Actually, things got worse. Instead of returning home at a decent time, she often had work meetings or events, which kept her at the office most evenings. When I asked Jane why, instead of spending more time together like she promised after her big project, we were actually spending less time together, she brushed it off. She said she was focusing on her career and that in a couple of months, things would be better for us. But those months seemed to pass without any change. Since the party, our close moments had really dropped off, and we hadn't been intimate for 3 months. On one rare night when she got home before 10 p.m., I brought it up. She told me I was mistaken and that we had been together just the week before. Feeling frustrated, I replied, "You might have had a moment with someone, but it definitely wasn't with me." I quickly left the house, slamming the door behind me. I walked for what felt like an hour, though I didn't keep track of the time. Somehow, my thoughts led me to a bar 2 miles from home. I sat at a quiet table, sipping a drink and trying to understand my life when my phone rang. I looked down and saw it was Jane. I declined to answer and turned my phone over to silence it. I was deep in my thoughts when the barman touched my shoulder and said, "Sorry, but we're closing. It's time for you to go." I looked up and noticed the kind but tired look on his face, something he probably showed many times before. I nodded and made my way home. As soon as I walked in the door, I was bombarded with questions and frustrated words. I stood there watching my wife rant, but nothing registered in my mind. I just ignored her and headed to bed. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, for what felt like hours. Then I heard the door open quietly. Jane slipped into bed next to me. "I'm sorry for earlier. I love you, and there's no one else. I just feel so lost right now." She cuddled up to me, resting her head on my chest. "It's been way too long since we were close," she said, her hand moving slowly over my chest. As she continued, I felt my feelings change, and my anger began to fade. "I've missed you," she whispered, leaning in for a gentle kiss. But just then, she pulled back. "Sorry. Wrong time of the month. How about we just get through tonight and plan something for the weekend instead?" I frowned for a second before leaving the room, frustrated. "Don't worry about it. I'm sure you'll find someone else to help you out." I stormed into the spare room and locked the door. I'm a tall man who usually hides my feelings well, but that night, I cried over the troubles in my marriage. I barely slept and woke early wanting to avoid her. I left the house quietly and got to my desk before 7 a.m., just as others started arriving. At 9:15 a.m., my phone rang. I thought it might be Jane, either apologizing or upset, so I almost let it go to voicemail when I noticed it was an unknown number. Normally, I would have ignored it, but for some reason I decided to answer. "Hello?" "Hi. Is this David?" "Yes. How can I help you?" "This is Trudy, Arthur McCain's wife. We need to meet and talk urgently. There's something important going on that you should know about. Can you meet me today at Harrison's for lunch at 12 p.m.? "I am not sure. I have meetings all afternoon." "What is it about?" "Look, I am just sending you something to show I am serious." My phone pinged with a new message. I quickly opened it and saw a picture of Jane with Arthur. I felt my anger rising as my hand trembled. I put the phone back to my ear. "Where did you get this?" "David, I have much more to show you, but I can't do it over the phone. I wanted to wait until I had more information, but something happened last night that you really need to know about now. I know it's short notice, but I promise that things are about to get much worse for you if we don't work together to fix this." I nodded. "Okay, I will meet you." "Good. I will see you later." She ended the call, leaving me in a daze of despair. Carl, the CEO, peeked into my office. "Dave, have you had a chance to?" His voice faded when he saw my troubled face. "Dave, is everything okay? You look upset." I didn't look at him. Instead, I handed him my phone with the picture of Jane and Arthur. Carl sat down across from me. "Mate, are you sure that is real?" I shrugged. "I don't know. But with everything that has been happening lately, I believe it is." "Oh no, what do you need from me? Take all the time you need to deal with this. If you need anything, just let me know. I totally support you with this." I took a deep breath. "Thanks, Carl, I appreciate it. I need to meet someone for lunch, so I will be out for a couple of hours." Carl laughed. "No way. You are leaving now with me. We are going to the golf course to relax, and then you can have your meeting at lunch. You are not coming back here today, got it?" I smiled weakly and nodded. "Thanks. Dave, if it weren't for you during my divorce, I don't know where I would be. You are more than a friend. You are like a brother, and I am here for you." We got to the club about 30 minutes later, grabbed a bucket of balls, and headed to the driving range. At the first spot, we waited for the person to finish their shot before Carl introduced us. "John, old friend. Meet Dave," he said, shaking hands with a tall, distinguished man with gray hair. John turned to me with a big smile. "So nice to meet you, Dave. Are you and Carl friends?" Carl chuckled. "He is one of my oldest friends." "Dave, let me introduce you to John Vincent Smythe, a well-known divorce lawyer. John, when I go back to the office, I will keep your services on hand for a while. Dave here might need your help." John's expression softened. "I hope you don't need me, but I'll be ready to help if you do." After a few more friendly remarks, we walked to a quiet area. "How do you know John?" I asked. Carl chuckled. "He was my wife's lawyer in our divorce. Even with a prenuptial agreement, she took a lot of my money. I just managed to keep my business safe. He's tough at his job." Over the next hour, Carl skillfully kept the conversation light, avoiding topics that reminded me of the marriage trouble I faced this morning. Just after 11 a.m., I thanked him and began the 45-minute drive to Harrison's. It was a nice restaurant in the next town. I figured she chose a place away from prying eyes. Now, here I was, sitting in my car, staring at the thought of my wife and her boss. I took a deep breath and walked into the restaurant with determination. The host stopped me. "Do you have a reservation, sir?" he asked. I'm meeting someone, Trudy McCain." He smiled, somewhat smugly. "Ah, yes. Mrs. McCain is already at her table. Please follow me." I was led to a private room with just one table where an elegant middle-aged woman sat. She waved me over and dismissed the host. "Jasper, please bring me another glass of wine and for my guest," she motioned towards me. Still in a shock, I just shook my head. She smiled gently. "Please bring my guest a Macallan 25 on ice. I think he will need it soon." The host nodded and left, leaving me alone with the woman who had shaken my world this morning. She looked at me with a mixture of sadness and understanding. "David, I want to apologize for how I brought this up this morning. I never wanted to do it this way. I had hoped to approach it more gently." "Then why the sudden change?" "Well," she paused for a moment. "I saw messages last night that worried me about your safety, so I had to act quickly. Just then, a waitress came back with our drinks. "Thank you, dear. Could you please make sure we aren't interrupted? Let Jasper know I will call when we are ready to order." The waitress nodded respectfully and hurried away. Now alone again, Trudy placed her hand on mine. "David, I'm really sorry to share this, but we both have been tricked. Our spouses have been unfaithful for at least a year, based on what I've discovered." I wanted to shout, call her a liar, and say she was wrong. But deep inside, her words unleashed feelings I had kept hidden. All the small signs I had ignored now seemed clear. I knew she was telling the truth. My shoulders dropped. "Okay, how do you know? What proof do you have?" A part of me still hoped it wasn't true. Trudy took out a tablet from her bag, placed it on the table, and opened a folder. "I had a private investigator follow my husband for the past 4 months because I started to suspect him. I had his phone copied and cameras put in his office." I looked at her in confusion. "So none of your evidence can be used in court?" I asked. Trudy's expression changed to a sly smile. "Well, it would be, except for one thing. Let me share a quick story that will help everything make sense." She leaned back and took a sip of her wine. "My family has always had money. Their business has grown over many years. I was expected to be the next owner of the family fortune, but I had other dreams. I wanted to be an artist. My parents were not thrilled at first, but my father always supported me. After some discussions, they finally let me pursue my passion. I studied fine art and art history at a good university and graduated with honors. Right after graduating, I got a job as an art historian at a gallery, and in my free time, I created my own art. I was starting to feel frustrated. This woman just told me my wife was unfaithful, and now she was boasting about her privileged life. Trudy patted my hand and said, "Please be patient. I'm getting to the important part. Everything will make sense soon, I promise." She took another sip of her wine. "Now, where was I? Oh, yes. While at university, I met someone I fell deeply in love with. He was kind, funny, charming, and attractive. We met at a party I attended with a friend. I wanted to leave because I was bored, but he found me, and we started talking. Before long, we had talked all night until the sun came up. We quickly became very close during our time at university, even though our backgrounds were very different. He came from a very poor family. It was just him and his mother, as his father had left before he was born. His mother worked 2 jobs to pay for rent and food. He got a full scholarship to university because he was good at sports. He studied business and finance and graduated at the top of his class. After university, we quickly got married and tried to start a family. Sadly, we learned that he could not have children, so we turned our attention to our careers. There was an agreement I made with my father. I would be in charge of finding someone to run our family business. If I didn't do it myself, I would be responsible for their choices and their successes or failures. She smiled as she shared, "My husband Arthur took over my family business, McCain Holdings, 10 years ago. He thought it would be better to take my family name, but I think he wanted to change his unusual name, Dillflop." She playfully exaggerated the sounds of the name. "He became Arthur McCain and became the CEO of the company. However, I am the chair of the group, and I have the final say on all decisions if I want to." She let her words linger for a moment before adding, "That's why it's completely legal for me to set up monitoring software on any company devices and to have cameras in the offices." I laughed for the first time in a long while, remembering how the man had brushed me off, not realizing everything he had belonged to his wife. "Thank you. I haven't laughed in so long, and now I can see him for who he really is." Trudy nodded. "Yes, he acts confidently in front of others, but at home he is shy and obedient." She then focused on her tablet, saying, "Now, I have a lot of information here for you. It includes their messages, emails, and voice recordings. There are also hours of video. I suggest not watching them for your own peace of mind." Her look indicated what the videos contained. She handed me the tablet. "It's yours to keep, and all files are saved on a secure cloud server, so we have all the proof we need." I was about to start looking through the information when she took my hand. My heart skipped a beat at the touch. Sadly, it was the closest contact I had felt in a while. She noticed my expression and nodded but kept holding my hand. "David, Before you dive into all your worries, I need to talk about why we had this urgent meeting today. She took a big sip of her wine and sighed, avoiding my eyes. So, I have to tell you this in a straightforward way. It seems my husband has developed an unusual interest. I don't know if it was there before with other women he might have been with, or if it's just about you. But he wants to humiliate you. She paused to let that sink in. Do you know what I mean by that? I nodded, still a bit confused. Yes, but I thought since they were already together, I was already humiliated. She shook her head. Yes, and no. You are right in some ways, but there is more to it. In some circles, the word has a harsher meaning. It means a husband who is looked down upon and made to serve his wife and her partner while being kept from his wife. Now I understood even less. She looked at me, frustrated. David, my terrible husband and your difficult wife want you to watch them together. They plan to restrict you and make you do things for them after their time together. She emphasized her point. From what I found out last night, they want you to do things that would be very humiliating for you. As the horror of her words hit me, I felt my color drain and my stomach churn. I rushed to the nearest bathroom and got sick until it hurt. After cleaning up, I returned to the table, tears streaming down my face. Trudy saw me and rushed over to give me a comforting hug. Oh dear, don't worry. I have a plan to stop them. She held me in a warm embrace that made me feel safe. At that moment, I believed her that things would improve. We sat back down and I took a small sip from my glass, feeling a little better. Trudy looked at me and asked, May I ask you something personal? I nodded slowly, still a bit lost. What happened last night? I was still confused and asked, In what way? Well, the reason I called you today is that their plans changed last night. I had been keeping an eye on things, waiting for the right time to bring you in. I didn't want to rush you when you still wasn't sure if anything was going on. But last night, around 1 a.m., there were a lot of urgent messages between them. Jane started by saying she felt she was losing you and the plan was falling apart. Now it all makes sense, I said, looking down at the table. I told her everything that had happened the night before, ending with my frustration about needing space. Now I suggest we order some lunch since I am hungry and I bet you just finished your breakfast. But first I have some important news to share before we talk about my plan. The change in plans means they want to act quickly this weekend. They plan to drug you and force you to do what they want. Arthur even hinted that he would use violence to make you comply. She took my hand firmly. We can't let that happen, which is why I am speeding things up. Trudy then reached to the center of the table and pressed a button I hadn't noticed before. The door opened, and the same waitress came in. Chloe, could I please have my usual? And for my guest, can you ask Anton to make something simple but filling? She patted my hand gently. He just got some terrible news and might need some strength now. After a moment, she added, Oh yes, please refresh our drinks, and could you have someone tidy up the restrooms? The waitress nodded, Yes, ma'am, and left the room again. Feeling a bit embarrassed, I joked, Do you know everyone here? Trudy laughed loudly. Of course I do. I own the place. I nodded, understanding that nothing about her would surprise me anymore. She continued, This isn't part of the family business. I set this place up 2 years ago as a project for myself. Arthur has no access here, so you are safe. She squeezed my hand and said, I made it clear to my staff he is not allowed on the premises, and you can come here any time without charge. A little while later, the door opened again and 2 staff members came in with trays. They placed our drinks first, then our food. I hadn't realized how hungry I was until I smelled the delicious food. Trudy was served a fancy pasta dish, while the waitress brought me a plate that looked like an omelet. Sir, since you're not feeling well, Chef Anton made you a simple cheese omelet, the waitress said with a smile. I chuckled. This doesn't seem simple at all. Trudy lit up. Anton is a real talent in the kitchen. His food is amazing, which is why we have 2 Michelin stars. Please tell him he's done it again. The waitress nodded and turned to leave. Oh, Chloe, how's your mother doing after her surgery? Chloe smiled warmly at Trudy. Yes, ma'am. She's doing very well. Thank you. She loves the flowers you sent. Trudy replied, "I'm glad to hear that. I'll call tomorrow to discuss her recovery plan." Chloe's eyes had a bit of moisture. "Thank you so much, ma'am. Your help means the world to us." Trudy replied, "Just call me Trudy." Chloe grinned. "Yes, Trudy." As she headed out, Trudy asked us not to be bothered. I took my first bite of the omelet and felt joy. It tasted incredible, like no omelet I'd ever had. Trudy beamed. "I told you he was a genius." After a few bites, Trudy started sharing her thoughts. "David, the first thing we need to do is disrupt their plans for this weekend. Can you get a couple of weeks off work?" I nodded, recalling my talk with Carl earlier. That should be fine. "Good. Now I need you to make up a story about a work issue in Singapore that you need to handle for about 2 weeks. This way, you'll be safe and well have time to prepare," she explained. "And you're leaving tonight. I don't want them rushing anything." She looked at me closely. "Can you do that?" I nodded. "The less time I spend with her, the better." Trudy patted my hand. "Just in case they had plans for tonight, I'm calling an urgent meeting that should keep Arthur busy. He'll make sure Jane is involved too, so you'll have time to pack and leave. After we finish here, you'll give my private investigator your car and phone. She'll handle it, making your phone show you're headed to Singapore and put your car in long-term parking at the airport. She has a new phone that will act like yours, allowing you to get calls while keeping our communication private. I understand that my troublesome husband might have placed trackers on your phone or car." She then took half an hour to explain her plan clearly, saying how we would catch them and make them pay. While I admired her, I also felt uneasy about how intense her plan was. She took my hand again and said, "David, I need you to put yourself in a risky situation for this to work. But don't worry, I'll be nearby with the right support and well know everything that happens." I nodded, knowing it would be worth it to finally put an end to this. Trudy walked me out of the restaurant and introduced me to her private investigator. "Joanne, David agrees with our plan. Can you work with him to make the arrangements?" Joanne shook my hand and said, "David, I'm really sorry for how we're meeting. This kind of situation is unusual, but we have some warning, which gives us an advantage." Trudy kissed my cheek gently and said, "Well, talk later. I've made a dinner reservation for us at your hotel at 7 p.m. We can discuss this more, but I'd also like to get to know you since I don't understand why your wife would leave you for my difficult husband." Joanne led me to a big black SUV and opened the back door, turning to me. "David, can you please give me your car keys and your phone?" I handed them over without hesitation. She looked at the keys and asked, "Is this your house key?" I nodded, my thoughts racing. "Good. Now I need you to sign this," she said, giving me a form and a pen. "This gives us your permission to install cameras and security devices in your home. Since you own the house, we only need your consent to set up a new security system." I signed the form and handed it back. "Thank you. Now here's your new phone," she said, giving me a device. "I've set it up to work like your old one. If someone calls your old phone, the call will come to this one, and they won't notice any difference. If you want to call someone from your old phone, just press the star button first, and it will show your old number. It'll also change the location data on your old phone to make it seem like you're traveling to Singapore. We know your wife has put tracking software on your phone, so everything will appear normal." She handed me the phone and pointed to the car next to us, saying, "This will be your vehicle for now. After you go home and pack your things, drive to the airport long-term parking. I will meet you there and switch cars with you. We'll leave your old car to make it look like you have left the city. The windows are dark enough that your wife won't see you park nearby." She handed me a key card with a smile. "This is your room key. You have a suite reserved at the Hilton just around the corner. After you leave your car at the airport, go straight to the hotel and wait for Trudy or me to reach out to you." Feeling a bit overwhelmed by everything, I stood quietly until I felt her hand on my shoulder. "David, I know this is a lot to take in, but you can trust Trudy and me. Once this is over, you can finally move on, and they will regret what they've done." Suddenly remembering my job, I asked, "What should I tell my boss? I need to say something." She nodded. "We checked on Carl and he is safe. You can share as much as you want, but please ask him to keep it private." A wave of relief washed over me. I leaned against the car. "Thank you so much, but what am I doing? Just yesterday I felt unhappy but accepted a one-sided relationship. Now I see that my wife is not who I thought she was. Holding my hand, she said, David, I can't imagine what you are feeling, but I know one thing for sure. You want Trudy by your side. She is kind and loyal, and she stands up for what's right. With that, she walked me to my car and said goodbye. I sat in the driver's seat and closed the door. The sudden quiet shocked me, and all the emotions I had been pushing aside rushed back. It felt like my heart was breaking, my eyes filled with tears, and I felt the weight of losing everything I cherished. My marriage, my love, my wife. Feeling battered and drained, I went back to work. When Gail, the receptionist, saw me, she hurried over. Oh my God, Dave, what happened? She pulled me into a tight hug. I rested my head on her shoulder and sighed. It will all be fine. I pulled back and forced a smile. Gail, could you please ask Carl to meet me in meeting room 1? I pointed to a door off to the side where we held private meetings. And can you keep it quiet? I don't want everyone knowing I am here. Gail nodded, rubbed my shoulders, and looked at me with concern. Dave, just go into the room. I will bring you a coffee. She spoke firmly, leaving no room for disagreement. I sat in an uncomfortable meeting chair, resting my head in my hands, feeling overwhelmed once more. Just 2 minutes later, Gail entered with a large mug of coffee and a plate of cookies. She smiled. Carl is finishing his meeting and will be here soon. Is there anything else I can do? Do you want me to call Jane? I'm sure she's worried. I replied more forcefully than I intended. No! My reaction surprised Gail, who had been like a dear friend and mother to me for as long as I could remember. Taking a breath, I added, Gail, I'm really sorry. I don't want to talk to Jane right now. Gail nodded, quickly understanding how I felt. She placed her hand on my shoulder. Dave, sweetie, I'm here if you need anything. I nodded and she left the room. I was finishing my coffee when the door opened and Carl walked in. He noticed my expression and froze. Wow, that meeting must have gone well. I raised my eyebrows and let out a deep breath. Carl closed the door and sat beside me, giving my shoulder a light tap. All right, spill it, brother. What happened? I explained everything Trudy had told me about Jane and her boss wanting to cause me trouble. Carl's eyes widened in disbelief. No way! Jane would never do that to you. She thinks the world of you. I handed him my tablet, letting him read the messages and see some images. He stayed silent for several minutes, occasionally gasping or swearing as he absorbed the information. When he finished, he pushed the tablet away, saying, I can't believe it. She must be going through something to think that's okay to do to her husband. I shared more about my feelings and the events of the past year. When I explained my plan, Carl's expression shifted, showing a mix of shock and excitement. Wow, Dave, that's bold. This Trudy is something else, but I love it. You're definitely heading to Singapore. I'll let everyone know. Don't worry, it will seem real. He put his hand on my shoulder. Just 2 things. If you need anything or help with this plan, let me know. I want in on this. And tomorrow night, we'll meet at the hotel bar at 6 p.m. and celebrate. No arguments. I finished my conversation with Carl and drove the 20 minutes home. I chuckled softly, thinking of it as my home. It felt like an empty place where all my hopes and dreams had faded away. The place where my wife changed from a loving partner into someone unkind. I wanted to leave the house as quickly as possible, so I hurried to pack enough clothes for the next 2 weeks. I also gathered important papers and a few keepsakes from my parents and grandparents. I had just started when my new phone rang. The caller ID showed Jane. I smiled to myself, thinking, so she is trying to reach me. I thought about letting it ring, but I was curious about what she had to say. Hey, I'm sorry about last night. I didn't mean for it to sound bad. I just wanted to do something nice for you, she said. I decided to play it cool, pretending to still be upset. I paused before replying, it didn't come across that way. I'm really sorry. I want to make it up to you. I have a surprise planned for you tonight, but I just found out there's an important meeting I have to attend, so I don't know when he'll be home. Can we keep tomorrow open for me to surprise you? She asked. I smiled, knowing what the surprise was, but played along. What is the surprise? I asked. I can't tell you, or it won't be a surprise. But I think you will like it, she replied. That sounds interesting, but I can't wait. Something has come up at work. Are you at home? I can hear a clock ticking in the background, she said. I almost laughed. She knew very well I was home, but she was trying to figure out where I was. Yes, I'm packing, I said. Packing? What for? She asked. I was going to call you from the airport with more details, but there's a problem with a big client in Singapore. They want me to handle it personally. It's urgent. I'm at home getting my things before heading to the airport, I explained. Oh no, I don't want you to go. Can't someone else take care of it? She asked. I'm afraid not. They won't cooperate unless I go, I said. How long will you be gone? She asked. I can't say for sure until I see the situation, maybe a week or two, I answered. But I don't want you to be gone that long. I'm going to miss you, she said. Her sweet tone began to annoy me as I realized it felt manipulative. I tried to keep my anger under control, but her last comment really pushed me over the edge. I doubt it. We haven't really seen each other in the last month, so what is another 2 weeks? Just spend time with your boyfriend. I ended the call and continued packing while my phone kept ringing. After 5 minutes, I answered because I realized that if I didn't, they might arrive before I could leave. What? Has he left you already? Please don't say that. There is no one else, I promise. I just don't want you to go. Well, it's happening. I'm heading out the door now to go to the airport. I will try to call when I land, but there's a big time difference. I've heard that the signal there is poor, so I might just email instead. We can talk seriously when I get back home. I think this time apart might be good for us. If you must go, I will see you when you get back. I will miss you so much. I was quiet, knowing that what she said wasn't true. Call me when you can, no matter the time difference. Just know I really do care about you. Yeah, okay. I will see you when I get back home. I hung up the phone and left for the airport. On the way there, my phone rang again. I almost ignored it but saw it was Trudy calling. Hi, Trudy. I'm just on my way to the airport now. Oh, that's good. I heard your wife called you while you were at home. How do you know? I'm listening to a conversation happening between my challenging husband and your wife about changes in plans. She's upset that you're gone. He, on the other hand, is quite pleased because he thinks he can take advantage of your absence. I don't understand what I ever saw in him. It's quite a funny chat. I suggest you listen in later. It will make you laugh. You'll be done with my meeting at 6 p.m., much earlier than I told Arthur, which should annoy him. I suspect he won't be home tonight, so we can have a nice meal, talk, and hopefully enjoy ourselves for once. Well, I'm not sure how much fun I will be, but I would like the company. I walked into the hotel entrance and went to the reception. I showed the receptionist my room card and asked for directions. Ah, yes, sir. Mrs. McCain reserved you the presidential suite on the 15th floor. Alan will help you with your luggage. Alan opened the door to the presidential suite, which was even bigger than the house I had just left. He brought my bag to the bedroom and started explaining everything about the room and the hotel, but I didn't hear much. I was too amazed by my surroundings. When I snapped out of it, I heard Alan ask, "Sir, will that be all?" I nodded and reached into my pocket for a tip. He smiled and said, "No, sir. Mrs. McCain has taken care of everything." Then he closed the door behind him and left me alone. With no responsibilities in that moment, I suddenly felt deeply tired, emotionally drained. It was as if I had no feelings at all. My body felt weak and I really wanted to sleep. I made my way to the bed and lay down. Almost right away, the room phone rang. I picked it up and a cheerful voice said, "Good evening, sir. This is your 6 p.m. reminder call." It took me a moment to realize I had been asleep for 2 hours, though it felt like just a few seconds. After a long, warm shower, I got dressed and headed to the restaurant, still feeling a bit dazed from my nap and a bit empty inside. As soon as I walked in, Trudy spotted me. She was at the bar in a lovely navy blue dress that ended just above her knees. When she came closer, she smiled and said, "Thank you for that. It feels nice to be appreciated." She leaned in a bit so I could smell her perfume and feel her warmth. "And just so you know, it's all natural." I could feel my cheeks warming as she laughed and kissed my cheek lightly. "Oh dear, I seem to have embarrassed you already. Well, Let's go to the bar for a drink before dinner. While we waited for our drinks at the bar, she gently touched my arm and asked, "So, how are you feeling? Has it sunk in yet?" I shrugged and replied, "I don't really know. I know this is real, but it's hard to connect the things I've learned to the woman I married." Trudy thought for a moment and said, "From what I've seen, it seems like Jane has been caught up in the idea. I don't think she means to hurt you. She believes this will be good for you, too. It all goes back to my terrible husband, who has gotten into her head and planted this idea." Trudy led me to our table, which was tucked away in a quieter area of the restaurant. We sat in silence for a while, looking over the menu. "Dear, the sirloin steak here is amazing, or the salmon is wonderful," she said. "But choose whatever you want. The business is paying the bill." As we waited for our food, Trudy brought up the topic again. "So, David, did you get the time off?" "Yes, my CEO is a close friend, and he arranged everything for me. He even told everyone in the office that I am going to Singapore." Trudy looked a bit puzzled. "Oh, Jane has a couple of friends who work with me," I explained. "Ah, that is smart. It will make your trip seem more real." I chuckled. "Yes, Carl is great. He is coming here tomorrow evening so we can relax and have fun talking about Jane." "Ooh, that sounds fun. Do you think he would mind if I came too?" "It has been a long time since I just let loose and enjoyed myself. Usually I have to play the responsible one. I would love to just chat and have some drinks without any pressure." I nodded enthusiastically. "The more the merrier. I am sure you two will get along well." "Ah," Trudy exclaimed, suddenly remembering. "I have the recording from earlier that you really should see." She took out her phone and some earbuds. "Here, put these in so you can hear everything." She handed me her phone with a video ready to play. I put in the earbuds and pressed play. The video showed Arthur sitting alone in his office when Jane walked in, looking anxious. "Arthur, I just found out Dave is at home, not at work, so I called him. He is on his way to the airport for a 2-week business trip to Singapore. He has never mentioned going there. I have a feeling he knows something. He told me to invite my boyfriend to keep me company." Arthur laughed loudly. "Don't worry, he doesn't know anything, or I would have heard about it." "I am really scared. I don't want to do this anymore. I can't lose Dave. He means everything to me. I love him too much." Jane started to cry. Arthur stood up and placed his arm around her shoulder, guiding her to the sofa. "Look, I thought this was something you wanted. It was your idea to include him in our relationship. I'm just following what you wanted." Jane looked confused. "I was just responding to your suggestions and hoping to save my marriage. I never wanted to hurt Dave. I just wanted to keep him." Arthur held her hand. "Yes, sweetie, and this is how to do it. You said he is caring and would give you anything you want. This is the best way for him to show it." She nodded slowly. "Yes, I understand, but why did we need to change the plan?" "I don't want to hurt him. Just thinking about what you suggested makes me feel sick. Maybe we should just end everything." "Honey, we agreed he was getting nervous and starting to doubt things. You did everything right. You drew back a little to make him realize he might lose you. He seemed uneasy, so a little surprise was needed. Once he gets over the shock, he will be more accepting of you. You will have the upper hand, and we won't have to hide our relationship. Isn't that what you wanted?" Jane shook her head. "I just don't want to lose him. I value what we have, but he is my true love, and he will always come first for me." Arthur frowned for a moment before collecting himself. "Maybe his business trip is a good thing. We can enjoy more time together. We can even spend the night at your house instead of just a few hours. We can do couple things and have time to talk about this more, so we can surprise him when he comes back. It might be better to plan for the night he returns. He might be tired and more open to your ideas." I paused the video and handed it back to Trudy. She seemed to read my thoughts. "David, I know what you're thinking. Jane is being pushed into this. That might be true, but remember 2 things. 1, she has been seeing Arthur for over a year. That's time she spent with him instead of you. And 2, she and my husband are planning to trick you. Even if she is involved unwillingly, she is still part of this. For your safety, we need to act. Otherwise, you will always have doubts. Once it is over, if you want to fix things, that will be your choice. They are using shock tactics to affect you. We need to respond in a strong way, too." I nodded. "I know we need to do this, but it's the first time I've seen how they interact." She seems to be following his lead. I wonder how it all started, if she joined him willingly or if he guided her. Oh dear, I believe he has influenced her. He has drawn her in, but I can't say how. From the videos I've seen, he is definitely in control. If she had more confidence, she might have ended it sooner or not started at all. She has made her decisions, whether she fully supports them or not, and her respect for you has faded. Maybe if you step in as her hero, things will change. I think she does care about you, but it's not an equal love. She wants you while also wanting her own freedom. I nodded, understanding her points. I felt that even though Jane may not completely agree with the plan, she had played a part in creating it, a plan that would put me in a position below her and her partner. That's not the kind of love I want. When the food arrived, I took the first bite of my steak and felt a wave of happiness. All my worries seemed to vanish with each forkful. After we finished eating, we moved to a quieter table in the bar area with fresh drinks. We both tried to keep the conversation light, discussing everything from music to politics. I found Trudy easy to talk to and began sharing things I usually kept to myself. While sipping my drink, I noticed a look of warmth and interest on her face. We were connecting through our shared experiences, and we were becoming friends. A couple of hours later, there was a pause in our talking. Trudy looked at me for a moment and said, "So, David, am in an interesting situation." With the drink settling in, I replied, "Oh, how so? Besides the looming issues?" Trudy laughed heartily. "Well, I need to tell you that I have looked deeply into our situation and realized we might not have that much in common, aside from the obvious. But I find it easy to talk to you, and I enjoy being around you. Our backgrounds are quite different, yet we share a lot of interests. I'm not sure if it's the situation, the drinks, or just a feeling, but I would like to spend the night with you." I was surprised and scrambled for a response that wouldn't upset her. She laughed and said, "Oh, relax. Look, I've never been good at flirting or charming others. A woman like me usually doesn't need those skills. We tend to be approached instead. Arthur was my first real partner, so I haven't had many chances to practice. I like you. I think you're attractive, funny, and easy to talk to, and we seem to share a lot. I sit here wondering what has made your wife act so strangely, choosing my not-so-great husband over the amazing person sitting in front of me." I smiled awkwardly and said, well, thank you, but that is to say." Trudy smiled back. "You are about to say you're married." I nodded. "Well, yes, I am. David, sweetheart, there are a few things you need to understand. First, your wife has not been faithful to you for over a year. We have proof, so anything happening now isn't cheating. Second, your wife is planning to control you in ways you might not like, and that doesn't deserve your full devotion. Lastly, I can promise that right now my husband is with your wife. If you don't believe me, we can check the cameras we set up in your house." Her words hit me hard, each one digging deeper than the last. They hurt, but they also helped me see the truth. A single tear rolled down my cheek. I looked at Trudy as if for the first time. She was beautiful, funny, and strong-willed. She had been a light in my darkest hour. Could I give up my marriage for her? She was so different from Jane. Where Jane was cheerful and playful, Trudy was serious and direct. I chuckled to myself about what a night with her might be like. She smiled and said, "Are you imagining something? You've been looking at me for a while now? I found it interesting." I blushed again and replied, "Oh, I didn't mean to stare. My mind was just trying to take it all in. Today has been a lot, and I'm worried I'm not in a good place." Trudy looked down at her drink and softly said, "I understand." I reached for her hand, and our eyes met. For the first time, I saw the vulnerable side behind her tough exterior. I smiled gently. "Trudy, I'm not saying no. I think I just mean not tonight." Her face brightened as she nodded. Before she could say more, I held her gaze and lowered my voice a bit. "I would be crazy to turn you down. You are beautiful, funny, and kind. I just think tonight I need a moment to think things over. Can we find a middle ground?" I took a deep breath, letting it out slowly to gather my thoughts and choose my words carefully. I'm not sure if spending the night together is the best idea for us, but I really don't want to be alone tonight. We've both had a tough day, and if you're okay with it, I would love to have you close to me. I want to hold you and feel your warmth beside me. I've missed that connection for so long, and I think it would really help me feel more grounded. I looked at Trudy and saw her silently crying. I squeezed her hand and said, "I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to upset you." She shook her head. "No, it's not you. You actually helped me realize that I've never had what you're suggesting before, and that's made me feel sad about my life. The only person I've lived with is Arthur, and he's quite self-centered. There's never been any comfort or closeness after being with him." She wiped her eyes and smiled gently at me, saying, "David, I want to be with you tonight more than I've ever wanted anything else. Can we go now, please?" I could see the need in her eyes. I nodded and stood up, wrapping my arm around her waist as we left the bar and headed to the suite she had arranged. Once we were inside, she started to shiver, so I hugged her tightly, trying to share my warmth and calm with her. Her shivering calmed down, and I said, "We don't have to do anything if you're not ready. We can just sit and talk, and if you want, we can say goodnight later." With her head against my chest, she shook her head. "No, I really want to be close. I think I need this. I just feel nervous since I haven't been close to anyone but Arthur." I hugged her tighter and replied, "I feel nervous too." She pulled her head back but stayed close, looking into my eyes. There was a vulnerability there that I hadn't seen before. After a moment, I leaned down and kissed her softly. She responded, and soon we were kissing more deeply, completely lost in the moment. Our hands explored each other gently, as if we wanted to become one. As we broke our kiss, smiling and slightly breathless, I whispered, "I think we should pause here, or we might end up doing something we could regret." Trudy nodded, though I could tell she wasn't entirely convinced. She looked at me nervously and asked, "So, what's next?" "What side do you want?" "Well, I usually sleep on the right side, but I am fine with either," she smiled. "That works. I sleep on the left side. About clothes?" I laughed softly. "It is up to you. I am okay with anything." Trudy blushed and laughed. "I will take it as a kind word." She looked down at the floor and twisted her hands. "Would it be okay if we were close?" She looked up at me with hopeful eyes. "I just want to feel near you." I nodded. "I think I would like that." I started to go to the bathroom, but then I heard a quiet sound. "Where are you going?" she asked. I turned around. "I am going to the bathroom so you can get ready in private and get into bed." She shook her head. "No, you do not need to. I think I would like us to see each other." I nodded and went back to the bed. We got ready for bed together. She looked nervous as our eyes met. I smiled. Her eyes widened. She took a deep breath. "Oh my, I am now even more confused why your wife likes that man." We both laughed a lot. We thought about Jane's choice and wondered what she saw in him. With the awkward feeling gone, Trudy stood in front of me with her arms out in a questioning way. I looked at her. "You are perfect. Your husband is a fool. If you were mine, I would spend my life trying to make you happy." The worry she had faded away. I walked over to her and kissed her gently. She sighed softly into my mouth as my hand rested on her back. We ended our kiss. I whispered, "Thank you, but it might be hard to sleep." She gave me a warm smile. "I will try my best." I pulled back the cover so she could get into bed. I went to the other side and joined her. I kissed her again as she put her leg over mine and her arm around me. Soon we both fell asleep. We held each other close. Our breaths matched in a calm way. Her head rested on my chest. Later that night, I woke up. We had shifted spots. Now I held her from behind. A quiet sound woke me. She seemed restless. I whispered near her ear, "Do you need help?" She startled but then nodded. I comforted her gently. She relaxed and moved closer. We stayed like that for a long time. We felt connected. Our breaths grew deeper together. Suddenly, she shook with strong feelings. I kept holding her steady. I wanted her to feel every bit of calm. Her shakes eased into quiet tears. I hugged her tight to show she was safe. After a while, in a soft voice, "I am sorry. I just felt so much with you here. I thought about you and—" I kissed her neck. "Never say sorry for your feelings." But we said, "I know, but this was nice. I think I wanted it too." She laughed quietly and snuggled back into me. She still held me close. Could I help you? It has been a while since. I kissed her neck again. I knew she had been through a lot of pain. I think I would like that. In a smooth move, I lay on my back. She turned to face me. She kept her gaze on my face. She started to comfort me slowly with care. Her earlier help, combined with the simple excitement of the moment, and the fact that it had been a long time since I had felt such pleasure, made it clear that I was getting close to a strong feeling of release. Sensing my anticipation, she smiled brightly even in the dim light, and her actions picked up in both speed and intensity, bringing me closer to my peak. My body moved instinctively, trying to match her rhythm while seeking every bit of sensation it could find. Just as I neared my moment of release, I noticed her head moving under the covers. Suddenly, she was all smiles, and I felt an overwhelming wave of pleasure. When we finished, my body began to relax, and I could finally breathe easily again. She emerged with a big, happy grin on her face, looking very pleased. "Wow, that was amazing. I've never experienced that before," she exclaimed. Her playful comment hung in the air as we cuddled and drifted back to sleep. I woke up to sunlight streaming through the curtains and realized I was alone in bed. It took me a moment to gather my thoughts and remember where I was. Just then, Trudy walked back into the room. "Good morning. Breakfast has just arrived in the drawing room. I've also scheduled an appointment with our lawyer for 10:30 a.m. to get things started." She noticed my puzzled look and asked, "Is something wrong?" "Well, Carl has already hired a lawyer for me and I don't want to cause any issues," I replied. "Oh, that's fine. I just thought it would be easier if we used the same person. John Vincent Smythe has been my family lawyer for years, but you can choose whoever you like." I chuckled. "Well, it sounds like he must be quite good since he's the same lawyer that Carl has for me. I met him yesterday morning on the golf course before I met with you." "Oh, how wonderful. We can use the same lawyer then." Trudy paused for a moment. "Breakfast is in there. Help yourself, or I am going to take a shower. If you'd like to." Join me." She turned red and hurried to the bathroom. It took me a moment to understand the choices, and I quickly followed her. After a long and relaxing shower, where we took our time cleaning up, we dried off and wrapped ourselves in soft bathrobes. We sat together on the big couch, enjoying pastries, crispy bacon, and fluffy eggs. When we arrived at the lawyer's office, we were taken straight in to see him. "Oh, dear Trudy, I'm so sorry about all of this. You can count on my firm to help you," he said as he looked at me with his hand out. "Didn't we meet yesterday?" I nodded. "Yes, at the golf course. Carl Moran introduced us." "Ah, I see," he said thoughtfully. "Since you are here, should I assume the matter Carl hired me for is connected?" I nodded again. "Yes, our partners are having an affair." "Oh, that's unfortunate, David. We will make sure they face consequences," he said with a smile. We all sat down as John began looking through some papers. "So, David and Trudy, how would you like to move forward?" "Trudy, yours is straightforward. From what you've sent, Arthur has no strong position. The prenup is solid. David, I assume you don't have a prenup?" I shook my head. "I never thought I would need one." He nodded. "Most people don't, but it can make things easier. It's not a problem, though. There are ways we can approach this based on what you want. Usually, since this is a no-fault state, the fact that she had an affair might not matter much." Seeing my shock, he smiled. "However, if you want to make it tough for her, we have plenty of options. We could consider making everything public, letting all her friends and family know what happened. There are ways to complicate matters for her. We could file under infidelity, which would make both of them explain everything in court. If we handle it right, we could even look into bringing charges. Please know, the only way she can keep her reputation safe is to agree to our terms." I took a deep breath. This was all overwhelming. Yesterday morning, I was in a loving relationship. Today, I found myself talking about the possibility of ending my 10-year marriage. I felt weak, and everything around me seemed to spin. Trudy took my hand and said, "John, I think David has had a rough 24 hours. For me, things are clear, but can you work out some options for David? If you look at the latest clips, it's obvious Jane is following Arthur." We might want to consider a less extreme choice, but keep the tough option as a backup. John smiled and replied, "Sure, Trudy. You'll get the team on it today. David, it's crucial for you to focus on your feelings and find a plan that works for you. Your situation is unique, and what Trudy or I want doesn't matter. It's all about you. I'm here to support you." I tried to smile back, but it probably looked more like a grimace. Trudy kindly led me out of the office. Just as we reached the door, she turned and said, "Oh, John, I know Carl is working with you, but the foundation will cover all the costs. You'll speak with Carl later." When we got into the car, my phone rang. I glanced at it and saw it was Jane calling. I showed Trudy, who smiled and said, "Your flight must have landed about an hour ago, but it's 1 a.m. in Singapore." I let the call go to voicemail as we drove to lunch. The week flew by in a blur of meetings and conversations, but the hardest part was the silence when I was left alone with my thoughts. I still couldn't fully understand that my wife had betrayed me by having an affair. It was painful to think that she would put me in a position of feeling less than. I kept telling myself that if the affair was all there was to it, I could just get a divorce and move on. But the deeper hurt was harder to grasp. My mind couldn't accept that the woman I trusted and built a life with could want to harm me. By the end of the week, I decided to follow Trudy's plan. I believed that by seeing exactly what my wife had in mind, it would help me accept the reality of my situation. Trudy and I were sitting in the hotel restaurant on Friday evening when I suddenly felt puzzled. "Trudy?" "Yes, David, dear. How come you have been able to be with me every day and night here? Don't get me wrong, I have loved spending time with you. I think I would have gone crazy without you. But hasn't Arthur asked about your whereabouts?" She shook her head and laughed. "An hour after Jane told him you were on a business trip, he called me. He said he needed to go on a business trip too and wouldn't be back until early next week. I didn't want to tell you at first because you would guess where he was, which I confirmed with videos from your home cameras." She chuckled lightly. "He has been spending time at home this week with your wife. Sorry to be blunt, but on that first night he took your wife on your side of the bed, making sure to leave his mark. Every night since, he has slept on your side." I felt cold, and the room began to spin. Here was yet another thing I hadn't considered. Trudy took my hand. "David, dear, all it shows is what a small man my soon-to-be ex-husband is. He can only feel good about himself by putting someone down. Now I understand that it was never about me during his moments of being mean." To show this, Trudy raised her pinky finger and let it droop. In that moment, my thoughts became clear. Jane was no longer my wife. She lost that when she chose to be with him. "Trudy, do you still want me to be with you?" I asked firmly. Surprised, she smiled and said, "Very much so." I took her hand and stood up. "Shall we head out?" She looked up at me with a sweet, loving smile that warmed my heart as we left the restaurant and went to my suite. The next morning, I woke up with Trudy's head on my chest, softly purring in her sleep. I smiled to myself. This woman brought out a passionate side in me that I had never experienced before, even with Jane. I had felt more joy last night than I had ever felt before. Trudy inspired me to be a better person. I lay there, daydreaming about what a life with Trudy might be like. But then I shook my head. A relationship built on difficult times might not last. My thoughts were interrupted by my phone buzzing on the nightstand. I reached over and saw it was another call from Jane. I silenced it and let it go to voicemail. That was the 12th call I had ignored from her this week. Her message started off light enough. "Hi there, I just wanted to check if your flight went well. I expected you to call me when you arrived, but I haven't heard from you yet. Can you call me back?" Throughout the week, I became more anxious. "Why haven't you called me? I'm sorry for being distant before you left." "Work has been busy. Please call me. I'm worried and need to hear your voice." I scheduled a quick email to send at 2 a.m. Wednesday to fit the time difference. "Hi, sorry for not calling. The signal is really poor here. Your messages come in together, so I don't know when you sent them. David." I got her call at 2:15 a.m. "David, please call me. I don't know what I may have done wrong. I promise there is no one else. I just need to hear your voice. I'm really worried." Her call might have been sweet if it weren't for the sound of snoring in the background. I showed it to Trudy, and she laughed. "Oh my gosh, can she not hear him?" At that point, I decided to wait until I was ready to come back from my trip before calling her. Trudy woke up softly and turned to me. "Good morning, how did you sleep?" I asked. She smiled and said, "My dear, that was the best sleep I've had in so long." I chuckled. "What, all 3 hours?" She looked away, a bit shy. The moments we shared before sleeping made that night special. Looking serious, she said, "David, I think I'm starting to have feelings for you." She quickly sat up and added, "You don't have to say anything if you don't want to. I just wanted to share that this week has been wonderful, and last night was something you'll always remember." She hurried to the bathroom, and I followed when I heard the shower running. I found her with her head under the water, and I stepped in to turn her to face me. I gently lifted her chin and said, "I think I'm falling for you too." I kissed her, pouring in my feelings, and the steam from the shower felt like a promise of something new. But as the water got cooler and we stepped out, drying off in silence, the reality of our situation felt heavy. Trudy's eyes met mine, showing her vulnerability, and I knew we still had a way to go. The plan we had set for the week, drawing them into action while staying ahead, required careful steps. With the weekend coming, it was time to go home, not as the defeated person they expected, but as someone determined to end things on my terms. The 12 missed calls from Jane and her voicemails went from simple worry to urgent cries over the week I hadn't been home. Each message played in my mind, all part of a pattern I was about to break. The first light of morning appeared as I drove into the driveway, the car's quiet sound stopping with a thud that echoed in my chest. I quickly texted Trudy, my fingers steady even though I felt uneasy inside. "Cameras ready? I'm coming in." Her reply came back almost right away. "All set. Be careful. Remember those other distractions from the PI reports? Keep an eye out, they might appear on the feeds." I slipped my phone into my pocket and lifted the duffel bag, which I had packed to pretend I was back early from Singapore. I was tired, but the week's events had stirred something within me, especially those worried messages, Jane's tone changing in the last ones, asking for contact while in the background, I could hear Arthur snoring, a detail that sharpened my focus. Before I could unlock the door, it creaked open. Jane stood there in her robe, her hair messy as if she had just woken up, but her smile was stretched too wide, too eager. "David? Oh my God, you're back early." She rushed over and hugged me tightly, her touch filled with an urgency I hadn't felt from her in months. I noticed her eyes darting around as she pulled back, glancing outside at the empty street. The living room showed signs of hurriedness, a cushion out of place, a blanket folded too neatly, and a faint scent of cologne that was not mine. "Yeah, my flight got changed," I said, letting my bag drop to the floor with a thud. I rubbed my temples, feeling disoriented, my mind flashing back to her voicemails, especially the one at 2 in the morning with her desperate tone. Jet lag is really hitting me. I barely slept. She led me inside, her hand resting on my arm a moment too long, a touch that felt both familiar and probing. "Come sit, honey. You'll make coffee. You look exhausted." As she moved to the kitchen, I sank down onto the couch, which still felt warm, as if someone had just left it. I was hit by small details, an impression on the cushion beside me, a stray dark hair on the armrest that didn't belong to either of us. The atmosphere was thick with unasked questions, and my heart raced with anticipation. During breakfast, the kitchen filled with the smell of coffee and toast as I slumped in my chair, stirring my mug slowly. Steam rose softly, reflecting the confusion inside me. I couldn't shake Trudy's comment about other distractions from the phone logs, pieces of a bigger betrayal forming in my mind. "So, how was your week? Anything exciting while I was gone?" I asked. Jane paused while pouring her drink, her hand steady but her eyes darted away, a sign I recognized from months of uncertainty. "Oh, just the usual. Work kept me busy, meetings, deadlines." She placed her mug down and sat across from me, her foot brushing mine under the table, a gesture that felt more like a challenge than affection. "I missed you a lot. The house felt so empty. Why didn't you call more? I was really worried." I took a sip of my drink, the bitterness matching my thoughts. My eyes caught a stray crumb on the counter, dark like chocolate, not something from our regular routines. The signal was bad, like I mentioned in my email. And honestly, after our last fight, I needed some space. I remembered that night when she had pulled my hand away, mentioning her cycle after I raised accusations about her boyfriend. That thought now felt validated. Jane laughed quickly, a bit nervously, her grip on her mug tightening. Space? From me? Come on, David, we've survived worse. There's no one else, I promise, just work stress. But her eyes avoided mine, and the air around us felt heavy with unspoken worries. Just asking, I replied, forcing a yawn and stretching, pretending the travel had worn me out. But inside, my doubts grew stronger, making my stomach churn. I sensed other signs clues that hinted at someone else being in the picture, maybe Arthur or those distractions Trudy mentioned. I pushed my plate aside. I think I'll take a nap later, but first I need to check my emails in the study. Work never stops. She reached for my hand, squeezing it firmly. Take it easy, all right? You've gone through a lot with that trip. We can clear things up later. Once I was alone in the study and the door clicked shut, I sank into the chair and pulled out the secure tablet Trudy had given me. My fingers moved quickly over the screen to activate the feeds from the hidden cameras that Joanne had set up while I was away. The house appeared in a grid view. The living room was empty, and I could see Jane pacing in the kitchen, her phone in hand, likely sending messages, probably to him. But it was the outside feeds that caught my attention, connected to Arthur's cloned device and specific trackers, bringing in fragments that echoed Trudy's warnings from the evidence we had gone through. One window showed a live stream, a coffee shop downtown, with Arthur sitting at a corner table, his back to the window but his reflection clear. Across from him sat a younger woman, maybe in her mid-20s, with sharp features and dark hair flowing in waves. This was Sophia, as I remembered from previous notes, someone who seemed to play a secret role in his plans that was now becoming clear. They leaned closer together, talking quietly, but their words were picked up by the microphone in his phone. The risks are piling up, Arthur murmured, brushing his hand against hers in a way that upset me. Jane's getting careless. You, though you're the safer choice now. Newer, no past troubles. Sophia smiled knowingly, but her eyes sparkled with intent. Safer? You said the same about her a year ago. What's to stop you from switching again? He chuckled softly, leaning in even closer. Why settle when I can have both? Just keep playing your part distract while I take care of the husband. The words hit hard, making my heart race, a heat rising in my cheeks. It was ironic, Arthur, the skilled manipulator, layering lies upon lies, as if Jane wasn't enough, entangling himself deeper than the affair we had discovered. My phone buzzed. Trudy was calling. I picked up quietly. Are you seeing this? Clear as day, she replied, her voice calm but urgent. Look at his pocket, see that bulge? It could be something hidden. He's getting ready for tonight, David. Those distractions I mentioned? This shows that Sophia's been involved longer than we thought. I zoomed in on the feed, noticing the outline, a small, cylindrical shape pressing against his jacket, a tool for their plan. Got it. This is unbelievable. He's playing both sides. This connects to the office cameras, those strange calls. There was a pause, her breath soft on the line, her tone encouraging yet firm. The irony is thick, isn't it? But it helps us. Use it to draw him in more. Stay focused, attract them. I'm here if anything changes. I ended the call and leaned back, the chair creaking beneath me. The tangled lies fueled my determination. This wasn't just about Jane anymore. It was a web, and I wasn't going to be caught in it. The evening arrived softly, the house lights dim as Jane went through her usual routine. She moved around the kitchen, preparing a drink her way of caring, pushed with that bright smile that didn't reach her eyes. You need to relax after all that traveling, she said, handing me the glass, amber liquid swirling gently inside. It will help you sleep, she said, handing me a glass that felt cool in my hand. A faint bitterness rose from it, reminding me of the warnings I had heard before, and I thought briefly of the vial in Arthur's pocket. Thanks. It's nice to be home, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady, but inside I felt a mix of excitement and unease. We sat on the couch, her body leaning against mine, but it felt distant. Her talk about work and a show she watched sounded off, as if she was forcing it. Why so quiet? Are you still upset about before the trip? She asked, gently touching my arm. I took a small sip, feeling the liquid's warmth in my throat. It tastes a bit strange, I said, setting it down, pretending to wince to hide my true feelings. Maybe I'm just tired from traveling. Drink up. It will help soon, she urged, her voice firm. Her foot pressed against mine under the table. I wondered if it was a test. The room began to blur as I tilted back, closing my eyes partly to play along, breathing lightly. Heavy footsteps approached, and Arthur's voice broke through, smug as ever. See? I told you it would work. Such a fragile thing. Jane's response was slow, filled with doubt. Arthur, is this really necessary? Is he truly out? What if, he laughed. It was an unpleasant sound as he moved closer. Necessary? This is enjoyable. While he is down, let's discuss Sophia. She's younger and more exciting compared to her. You seem old news. Her breath caught sharply, and anger seeped into her voice. Sophia? You said she was just a fling. Just a fling? He sneered, raising his voice in mockery. Why settle down when there are other choices? She's got passion, unlike you. Keep up, Jane, or you won't be here much longer. You think you can just replace me? She said, her voice low but filled with fury, the challenge clear. I did everything planned and lied for what? So you can be with someone younger while I take the blame? I lay still, my body relaxed but my mind racing. A hidden recorder in my watch captured every word. Memories flooded back, our wedding vows twisted now, her laughter in happier times drowned out by this betrayal, and the voicemails from the week foreshadowing this moment. Tension tightened in my chest, silent yet strong, as their words tangled around me, his arrogance, her doubt, the air heavy with feelings of dishonesty. Suddenly, a soft alert buzzed in my pocket. Trudy's signal confirmed that what I had taken was harmless, her previous hints about distractions now evident in their argument. I stayed quiet, taking shallow breaths as their words spilled out. Arthur's taunts grew bolder, outlining his plans for me and for her. I could picture Jane, her face changing with jealousy even as she went along with him. You're using both of us, she snapped, cutting through his comments. Admit it, you never meant to leave her for me. Meant to? You're just a distraction. Sophia is what I really want, and she's smarter, too. Doesn't complain like you do. His words hung in the air, and I could feel Jane hesitate. The tension was clear, and in that moment, I knew it was time to expose everything. I shot up from the couch, my surroundings sharpening as if a fog had lifted. My voice broke through the silence, clear and strong. Enough. I know everything, the affair, the plans, Sophia. As I spoke, my heart raced from both adrenaline and the relief of finally saying what I had kept inside. Jane stepped back, looking pale, her hand covering her mouth in shock, though I could see the flicker of calculation in her eyes, the same look I'd seen before. David! How? She stuttered, but then quickly recovered, stepping forward. Honey, you're confused. What affair? This is just the jet lag sit-down. Let me get you some water. Arthur froze for a moment, his grin replaced by a sharp glare as he realized something had changed. But I pushed ahead, my accusations building like pieces of evidence in a case I had already won in my mind. I've seen the footage, heard the phone calls. You're not just dishonest, Arthur. You're deceiving her too, calling her the upgrade while you keep Jane in the dark. Those cameras caught everything, and the records on your phone confirm it. Jane's gaze shot to Arthur, but instead of accepting the truth, she tried to deflect, her voice rising in anger and manipulation. David, you need to hear me as misleading you, trying to turn you against me. We've had our problems, sure, but this is just your paranoia from the trip. Arthur's just a colleague. Be quiet, Jane, Arthur shouted, stepping closer, his fists clenched tightly. He's just pretending. No, he's not, she yelled, her voice breaking as jealousy bubbled up. She turned to Arthur, her hands forming fists. Sophia? How could you say it was just us? It was just me managing him for our future. Tell him it's not true, Arthur. Tell him you're only saying this to frighten him. I ducked away from his wild swing, feeling the rush of adrenaline as I moved to the side, my heart racing. The air was thick with fear, and I could hear the floorboards creak under his weight. At that moment, I remembered the party night from months ago when he had called me little husband. The punch barely missed the couch, tearing the fabric slightly. In that instant, I pressed the hidden button on my watch. It was a distress signal linked to Trudy's network, a silent message to call for help. I had planned this with Joanne when we set up the cameras earlier in the week, making sure every angle was covered, preparing to turn their scheme around on them. "You think you can play us both?" Jane moved towards him, her words overflowing with jealousy and hurt. "I did everything, lied to David, pushed away closeness, all so we could be together, and for what? So you could chase someone new while I stayed here?" Arthur turned to face her, his confidence waning under the pressure. He pushed her aside with a frustrated growl, showing he was losing control. "You started all this." Jane asked for excitement and said your marriage was over. "Don't blame me for your choices now." "Choices?" she fired back, her voice filled with anger as she pointed at him. "You played me from the beginning. Those late nights weren't just work, were they? And Sophia, who is she? Your better choice? Or, admit it, you never meant to leave Trudy for me." The tension grew as their voices mixed in a whirlwind of blame, each new accusation revealing layers of dishonesty that reminded me of my own struggles. Sirens echoed in the distance, getting closer. The anonymous tip that Trudy had made earlier was timed with our plan, ensuring the authorities appeared without any links to us. Suddenly, police burst through the door I had left open. "Hands up! Everyone freeze!" Officers rushed in, badges shining under the bright lights as they quickly grabbed Arthur. He shouted angrily, his attempts to escape useless against the inevitable. "You can't do this? Do you know who I am?" The lead detective paid him no mind and turned to me with a nod. "We received a tip about an assault happening, backed by some initial evidence." A little later, Trudy walked in with John beside her. He opened his briefcase, revealing organized packets of evidence papers, drives, and links to videos, including clips of Sophia from Arthur's devices, showing how he had deceived everyone. "You can't prove anything!" Arthur yelled, fighting against the handcuffs, his face showing anger and defiance as the officers pulled him away. His eyes shifted quickly between us. John gave a packet to the detective, speaking with confidence, building on the evidence we had gathered. "Assault, conspiracy, digital proof of plans to harm, it's all here, including involvement from others. We have timelines, messages, even receipts for tools." Amid the noise of Arthur's denials, he twisted the situation, blaming Jane with a fierce look. "She started this. She pushed for the affair, said her husband was weak, and wanted me to take charge. I just got dragged into it." Jane's eyes widened in shock as she turned to him, her voice filled with despair but still trying to manipulate. "Liar! David, don't believe him. He twisted everything. He promised me a future. Please, it's all a mistake." I stood quietly, arms crossed, her pleas no longer affecting me. They felt like noise in a storm, drowning in the weight of all that had happened. Detentions happened swiftly, officers reading rights while Jane pleaded with tears, reaching for me. Her fingers grazed my sleeve in desperation. "David, please wait, I can explain. Arthur made me do this. You have to understand." I stepped back, feeling numb as if ice had spread through me, shutting out any lingering pain. My voice was low but steady. "Explain? Like you explained the late nights, the distance? No more lies, Jane." She tried again, her voice growing more desperate as it clashed with the officer's commands. "But I love you, always have." This was a mistake. A rough time, please. Don't let them take me. Silence was my only reply, the quiet saying so much as I turned away, the weight of my decision heavy in the air. Her cries faded as they took her outside. Stepping into the cool night with Trudy, I saw Jane collapse in the doorway. Her knees gave way, and her sobs shook her body. A memory flashed in my mind of her years ago, being open about her feelings of not being enough. Now, that moment clashed with her current state, as her actions came back to haunt her. In the car, as the engine hummed while we drove off, Trudy looked over and squeezed my hand for a moment. Talking made it easier, even through our tiredness. "You stayed strong back there. Your plan really worked. Joanne's system fit perfectly with the evidence we had," she said. I nodded, feeling lighter by the minute, her support anchoring me. "What if he fights back? His pride won't let him give up. He has money and lawyers, I said. He'll try, she replied softly, our growing trust clear in her words, her fingers comforting mine. But we have Layer's financial check starting tomorrow, her testimony if she changes her mind. Sophia's clips add more strength than we expected. We're ahead, David. This is our turning point. We will change their chaos into our success. The road continued before us, her words soothing as our talk shifted to plans without asking too much from me. The night's surprises settled into a calm feeling while the city lights blurred by. In his cell, Arthur paced, talking to the bare walls, his broken pride spilling out in harsh words. They think they've won? That brat and my ex-wife? He'll get them back, contacts, lawyers, anything I need. This isn't finished. But as the night went on, his words felt empty, the first signs of his downfall already showing. Across town, the wheels of justice began to turn, weeks of interviews and evidence gathering leading to important hearings that would expose the lies we had carefully noted. Weeks of hard work led to this moment, the courtroom alive with a tense atmosphere as wooden benches creaked under the weight of people watching, the judge bringing the session to order with a gavel that echoed the important moment we had been waiting for since those early meetings with John. I sat straight in the gallery, Trudy next to me, her presence keeping me steady in the thick air filled with anticipation, the smell of polished wood and old coffee blending with the tension in the room. The delay since the night of the arrest had stretched on through countless questions and legal paperwork. Each day added more evidence from cameras, cloned phones, and investigation paths we had collected. Our careful plan for justice had turned into a strong case. The prosecutor did not waste time. He began showing a video on the big screen. It was unclear but clear enough from our home cameras, showing Arthur's boastful arrival, a suspicious drink, and harsh confessions mixed with clips from his office that tied back to the start of the issues. Exhibit A, the prosecutor said steadily as the video played, with Arthur's voice echoing, "Why settle when I can have both? Or better?" Murmurs filled the room, but I focused on Sophia as she took the stand. She seemed tense but composed as she answered questions, dismantling Arthur's excuses with careful detailed dates, messages, and his control over others laid bare like pieces of a puzzle. Arthur's lawyer shot up, objecting loudly. "Your Honor, this witness is biased. Her involvement makes her testimony unreliable." The judge quickly responded, leaning forward with narrowed eyes. "Overruled. Please continue, Ms. Sophia." "You claim the defendant involved you in financial wrongdoing as well?" She nodded, her voice steady but tinged with anger. "Yes, he made transfers to hidden accounts and paid bribes to cover his actions. He called it insurance against his wife finding out." The lawyer pushed back, trying to find weaknesses in her story. "But you participated willingly, didn't you? You benefited from it?" Sophia's expression hardened, her reply sharp and clear. "Willingly? He pressured me with promises and then threats. I was just a pawn like Jane." Then it was Jane's turn to talk. Her explanations struggled under the weight of the text messages displayed on the screen messages plotting against me. The judge's questions revealed her attempts to avoid responsibility, but they only made her falter more. I didn't mean for it to go this far," she said, her voice shaky as she looked at me with eyes that reminded me of past hurts. I stayed steady, taking a breath to hold back my feelings. The prosecutor pressed on, his tone firm as he built on the text messages we had collected weeks earlier. "But you were involved, Ms. Last Name. You were part of the plan and talked about the details." "He's going to give in eventually," she said. "Can you explain that?" She shifted nervously, her hands twisting in her lap, trying to defend herself. "Arthur pressured me. He said it was the only way I'd be free. I was scared and confused." "Lies!" Arthur shouted angrily before his lawyer pulled him back into his seat, the outburst breaking his calm. "She wanted this, she started everything." The judge banged the gavel, restoring order with a stern warning, but the tension lingered. Jane looked at Arthur, her eyes filled with hurt. "You twisted my words then, just like you're doing now. Admit it, you planned this all along." Trudy leaned forward, signaling John to take the next step. They moved to remove Arthur from his position with a decision from the board, freezing his assets with an agreement they prepared quickly. Sophia, caught in the middle, added an ironic twist as her name became part of the financial mess, turning her testimony into a weapon against Arthur. "Your Honor," John said smoothly, standing with documents. "We have more evidence. Proof of embezzlement linked to the defendant, passed through fake accounts tied to the witness. This is part of a bigger pattern." The judge nodded, pausing the proceedings as whispers filled the room, the weight of the new evidence heavy. I took the stand last, asking for the ending of the marriage, my voice controlled but filled with personal feelings. I expressed quiet victory mixed with the pain of what I had endured, showing proof of betrayal through documents, bank statements, and timelines that revealed the truth, making the room murmur in surprise. "Mr. My last name. What was the impact on you?" the prosecutor asked, his question opening the floodgates. I looked evenly at Arthur, my words clear and firm. "It wasn't just the affair. It was the plan to hurt me. They trapped me and made me watch. That's not love, that's cruelty. And the financial struggles? They tried to drown me in debt while scheming even worse." Arthur's lawyer tried to find flaws in my story, pressing with insistence. "But you had no idea until recently? No earlier problems in your marriage?" "Objection, it's not relevant," the prosecutor shot back, interrupting sharply. "Sustained," the judge agreed, but the question hung in the air, pulling me back to those early warning signs, the fading closeness, the way I felt confused after our last moments now seen as part of their planned deceit. David and Trudy stood together, showing their support for each other as I stepped down from the hearing. Our hands brushed in the busy aisle, a quiet moment revealing our shared struggles. She leaned close and said, "You were strong up there. It reminds me of my own fights, dealing with his constant jabs over the years until I felt like I was losing myself." I nodded, keeping my voice soft as we connected over our experiences. "And you? Holding everything in that goes beyond just work. It's about taking back what's rightfully yours." She gave a small smile, a glimpse of her vulnerability showing as we talked with understanding. "It's about us," David starting to rebuild. "We've been through so much. Now it's time to heal." Just then, the moment was broken by a sudden alert from the bailiff's radio. "Overdose attempt defendant Jane is on her way to the ER." The room went silent as the judge quickly called for an adjournment. Whispers filled the air, and the gavel echoed with urgency, leaving a sense of confusion. In the hallway, I felt a tightness in my chest, grappling with doubt. Guilt colored my thoughts as I remembered her collapse last night, tangled in memories of her past tricks, which sparked my suspicions about her motives. Trudy's quiet support grounded me as we left together, her arm linked with mine. "She's trying to gain sympathy, don't let it change your mind. Remember how she manipulated situations? This seems like another attempt to sway the court," she said, her voice calm yet firm. "I won't be swayed," I assured her, though a hint of concern lingered in my tone. Our connection gave me strength amid the uncertainty. "But it makes sense she's escalating her actions when under pressure. We've seen similar patterns before." She agreed, continuing our conversation quietly. "Exactly. John's already working to manage the fallout. This medical evaluation won't stop the case from moving forward. We're still in a good position." Meanwhile, Arthur remained confined, plotting fruitlessly in his isolation, holding a smuggled phone to his ear in the dim cell. "Find something on them, anything useful. This delay might be my chance. And check on Jane, her actions might give us an advantage." Days passed slowly, and the situation for our opponents worsened as their plans fell apart under scrutiny. I sought comfort in my own solitude, trying to piece together what remained, with the delay stretching into weeks of waiting, pushing me to reflect on how far we had come. Jane's troubles came slowly but surely, as her stable life began to crumble under the judgment from her family. Each rejection felt like dark clouds building up, each hurtful comment a reminder of the distance she had created between us because of her lies. Whispers turned to clear rejections, her work connections closing their doors firmly, reflecting the barriers she had placed between us. Sophia's accusations painted her as part of a scandal that spread quickly through social media and quiet office talks, adding to her downfall with unfair irony. I watched from a distance, feeling a mix of sympathy and quiet relief, for the loneliness she experienced mirrored the pain she had caused me. Her monitored messages showed her desperate pleas for help, but society's harsh judgment trapped her in a situation of her own making. Her sister was the first to reach out, the call intercepted through the surveillance we had set up. The conversation was filled with anger and blame. "How could you, Jane? You're embarrassing our family with this mess affairs, lies, the trouble in court. You're cut off. Don't call again, Mom agrees, we're done." Jane's voice cracked as she tried to explain, sounding both desperate and defiant. "You don't understand, he made me do it. I was trying to fix things." "Fix things? By hurting your husband? Spare me the excuses," her sister replied sharply. "You've been lying for months, maybe even years. We're cutting you off. Goodbye." The phone disconnected, and Jane's cries filled the quiet room. But soon her professional life collapsed as well, with her company announcing her termination due to ethical issues. Colleagues who had once admired her now turned against her in private messages, sharing their feeling of betrayal. "You think we'd risk our reputation for you?" one colleague wrote, the message blunt and harsh. "Stay away, don't pull us down with you." "You owe me an explanation," Jane responded in the chat, her anger rising. "I was under so much pressure, Arthur forced my hand." The replies were cold and cutting. "Pressure? You made your choice. Blocked." Sophia's accusations worsened everything, her statement slipping into the hands of investigators, painting Jane as the one to blame. The very tactics Jane had used against others came back to haunt her in a cruel twist of fate, demonstrating the patterns that had emerged since those early days of excuses. Arthur's calls to Sophia echoed back to him sharply, revealing the truth as his lies crumbled. He was trying to regain control from his cell, where he kept calling her on a secret phone. When she finally answered, his voice was a mix of desperation and authority. "Sophia, you need to help me say it was all Jane's idea and that I didn't have any choice." Her response was cold and cut him off. "Didn't have a choice? You lied to me too. You said it was just fun, no commitments, while you played with both of us like we didn't matter. I'm done being your secret, Arthur. But I did so much for you, gifts, trips, introducing you to people," he argued, his voice rising to meet her rejection. "Did so much. You used me to hurt her and feed your own needs while keeping your wife. No more. Don't call me again or I will report you." The call ended with his words unanswered, leaving him feeling vulnerable and exposed, a reflection of the bigger problems we were all dealing with. I moved into a quiet space in the city, simple but freeing. There, conversations with Trudy revealed shared stories of struggle, our talks becoming honest as we sat in the soft evening light, her stories aligning with what we had gathered. One afternoon over coffee, she looked at me with sincerity that brought us closer. "It all started small with Arthur. He made little comments about my art, saying it wasn't serious enough, which made me doubt myself. It feels like he drew others in the same way, starting with Jane, and then Sophia." I stirred my drink slowly, recalling how Sophia related to the worries we had seen before. Jane did something similar, small insults about my kindness, calling it a weakness until I began to question everything. It feels like a pattern he follows. "Like rough sandpaper against the heart," she said softly, her hand brushing mine as she reflected. "He controlled minor things, dinners, clothes, subtle choices, but it took over my life. I stayed too long, lost in his empty promises." "And what about Sophia?" I asked gently. "From what we've observed, she seems to be moving on faster. Her efforts suggest she's changing, unlike Jane." Trudy sighed, her voice filled with understanding. "It's true, her beginnings are similar to Jane's flattery and all, but now she's pushing back. We have all been worn down, but now it's about rebuilding. That's our battle." This conversation brought us closer, revealing shared experiences that strengthened us even when we felt weak. As we talked, we explored our past wounds and turned our pain into determination. Memories flashed in my mind, showing how Jane's attraction began through planned encounters that fit the timeline we had tracked. The hotel party was the start, and Arthur's warm hug seemed carefully timed, his whispers planting feelings of unrest that led to the affair. Each memory made sense, piecing together what had happened. I remembered a few months ago at the work gathering. Jane was by the bar, and Arthur found a way to get close with a casual introduction that reminded me of his office tricks. When he whispered to her, it sparked a thrill, and her laughter hid the manipulative pull, which we later recorded. Another memory was of Sophia entering the scene, seen by Arthur as a fresh opportunity, lured in by a fake job offer that mimicked Jane's reasons for working late. Her drive made her an easy target as Arthur moved from flirting to a deeper connection. We noticed the same unhealthy pattern play out, just like the messages we had cloned showed. As these memories pieced together, clarity washed over me. The plan behind it all became clear, showing its cruel design. Each memory was a step that brought us to this moment. Therapy sessions helped me find peace. The counselor's office felt safe, and our talks went deeper, allowing me to forgive myself while releasing tensions. I began to find my voice and strength, much like Trudy shared her stories of quiet control that mirrored what we had discovered. "Tell me about the anger," the therapist asked, taking notes. "It's fading," I replied, my thoughts becoming clearer as I spoke. "Not completely gone, but I'm redirecting it. Jane made her choices misleading me about our life and creating distance. I can't hold on to that anymore." "And what about the others involved?" she gently asked. "Sophia's progress shows it's possible to break free. Arthur's way doesn't determine her future." These sessions provided a chance to let go of heavy feelings. I opened up to Trudy later, sharing that her reluctant confessions revealed scars that echoed the consequences of the affair. He would control small things, dinners, clothes subtle yet overpowering. Seeing Sophia stand against it confirms that I can escape too. Our shared experiences helped our healing, and a soft breath marked the moment we faced the past together. Jane's letter came in the mail, a thick envelope filled with unspoken feelings. I tore it up without reading it, a quick, firm action that showed I wouldn't let her words affect me. This decision was the result of weeks of preparing myself against such influences. In contrast, Sophia found a quiet strength in her solitude. Her days alone helped her grow, while Jane remained trapped in regret. Jane reached out to us, trying to connect, but it only made the differences between them clearer. Sophia spent her evenings writing in her journal, talking to herself before she called Trudy. "I was just a pawn, but not anymore. It's time to create my own path, away from those old habits." Trudy supported her, saying, "Those habits were repeated with Jane, but you are making a different choice. That's real strength." Jane, on the other hand, stared at the blank walls of her room, feeling more alone without any change in her life. Her pleas to friends were met with silence. "Please, just listen to me." But the answers were short and firm. No. This highlighted Jane's struggle while Sophia began to blossom. Meanwhile, Arthur looked at himself in the mirror of his cell, seeing the cracks in his self-image. He was angry and alone, filled with thoughts of revenge simmering beneath the surface. "Who are you now?" he asked his reflection, anger rising in his voice. "They took everything from me, but I will get it back. Just wait." His gaze grew intense, his self-image falling apart as he plotted his next move, even in the confines of his cell. While Arthur's plans grew darker, I found comfort in small escapes. I focused on building connections and uncovering new ideas, which strengthened our bonds and added unexpected turns to our journey. The waiting period felt long and tense, forcing us to deal with unresolved feelings from our past. Our coastal retreat appeared like a whisper of hope, the cabin by the crashing waves offering a peaceful escape. The salty air mixed with the scent of fresh art supplies as Trudy unpacked, making our break a much-needed pause from the dragging weeks of uncertainty. We had escaped for a weekend, finding a break after the tense moments in the courtroom. This time allowed us to explore her artistic side and share our thoughts, building trust between us. Every painting and conversation helped us regain what had been lost through betrayal. She dipped her brush into bright blues, moving it across the canvas like the waves of the ocean. Her laughter filled the air as I handed her a warm mug of tea, the steam rising like the questions we still had from the hearings. "Try this color, it reminds me of the sea outside. What do you think?" she asked. her eyes meeting mine and giving me a renewed sense of purpose. I leaned in closer, our shoulders touching, and I spoke softly, hinting at deeper feelings. It's calming, like us. We're finding beauty in the mess, turning shadows into something alive. Her face softened as she set down the brush. She took my hand in a way that felt supportive and close. We've earned this time, David. But it's not just about escaping. It's about us, creating something real. Those patterns with Arthur, they've shown me how far we've come. I nodded, feeling a wave of warmth from our connection. It was a quiet intensity that reminded us of our strength, and our talks deepened as we went on. The distance with Jane wasn't just a lack, it was a choice that wore us down. Seeing it now makes me feel more determined. She tightened her grip on my hand, her voice becoming stronger. He did the same thing, holding back and making me doubt what I wanted. But here with you, there are no games. It's just us. Our conversation mixed vulnerability with strength, and our afternoons flowed with both art and peaceful walks along the shore. The feel of the sand under our feet and the smell of the ocean kept us grounded. Memories of Jane's hesitations during those last nights crossed my mind, revealing the risks she took elsewhere. It was a bitter truth that only strengthened my determination as we stayed focused on each other. Arthur's escape from bail disturbed our peace like a sudden storm, his disappearance setting off a flurry of online attacks. Old photos from our marriage were turned into mockery on anonymous forums, accusing me of lies. My phone buzzed nonstop with these notifications, pulling me from my thoughts to the screen, each ping a reminder of his lingering negativity. "Look at this," I said, feeling frustrated as I showed Trudy a fake image of Jane and me, falsely claiming I had harmed her, the post appearing shortly after Arthur's flight. Trudy looked at it, her face firm as her fingers moved toward her laptop. "He's in a panic using bots to spread this nonsense, probably hiding out somewhere. We need to act fast before it spreads." "But how? He has so many resources," I started, my worry rising. She interrupted firmly, yet working with me. "Resources we froze, remember? Let's share this with our tech contacts for help. He's careless in hiding. We can track it down." We launched our counterattack from the cabin's makeshift setup, her team using technology to combat the false claims. The digital battle grew as we traced the source back to his hidden accounts, each notification bringing us closer to finding him. My emotions shifted from worry to a stronger determination as we planned our response. Then, I received an email from John, which included a message from Jane, revealing life-changing news that felt like a punch to the gut. She claimed she was pregnant with Arthur's child. Her words overflowed with a desperate plea for help or a chance to reconnect. This news reframed my thoughts about our relationship's troubles, a reflection of her choices during our time apart. Through careful checks of medical records, which Trudy's team accessed quietly, we verified the information. The revelation hit hard, but instead of dwelling on it, I quickly deleted the email, fueling my determination and sharpening my focus in the calm setting of the retreat. "She's trying to manipulate this," I said, steadying my voice as I mentioned the email to Trudy during dinner. The candlelight flickered, casting shadows that reminded me of past deceptions. Trudy nodded seriously, considering my words. "It's a trick. She wants to pull you back in, play on your guilt. Think about those late nights and her excuses. It must have happened then when she was turning away from you." "Exactly," I replied, feeling a sense of confrontation against Jane's absence. No more traps. Delete and move on her choices, her consequences. This realization brought us closer together, giving us strength as we let go of the past. Our talk flowed easily, helping us prepare for the challenges ahead. Carl called while we were getting ready to go back. His excitement filled the air as he suggested we team up on a new project. "David, I've got to plan a tech startup using your skills and my connections. Trudy's interested too. We can create secure communication apps. It's funny considering everything that happened with McCain Holdings." I looked at Trudy and smiled softly before putting Carl on speaker. "Sounds good. What's the plan? Can we connect it to the money issues we found?" "Exactly," he said, his tone turning businesslike. "There's a big need for protection after scandals, things like cloned phones and hidden trackers. We'll need money, but since Trudy's assets are now available." "That's taken care of," she chimed in, her voice calm but determined. "But we have to be careful. Arthur's evasive actions could cause problems." Carl laughed, his spirit bright. "Let him try. This is our chance, turning trouble into opportunity. Are you in?" "Definitely," I replied, feeling hopeful about our shared future. His idea connected us in a way that promised stability beyond our recent chaos, creating new possibilities from our challenges. As we drove back, Sophia sent a message that revealed even more connections. Her words uncovered a network of Arthur's shady partners, people in finance and tech, that helped him hide through secret accounts linked to McCain Holdings. "I have files," she wrote, including secure drives for us. "He involved me in more than you know offshore accounts and bribes. Use this information, but please keep me safe." Trudy looked over the files as we discussed them. "This links him to the fraud within Holdings. It's bigger than we imagined, but it matches the money issues we've been working on." I paused, considering the risks. "You're taking a big chance, Sophia. Why share this now?" She answered quickly, her voice strong. "He hurt me too, lied and used me. I want revenge. But if he finds out—" "He won't," Trudy reassured her, her tone firm and supportive. "We're here for you." This makes things clearer. He keeps doing the same thing, from Jane to you. Sophia pushed back, her voice strong as she spoke. "Patterns? He approached me just like he did with her promising chances, compliments turning into control, but I won't stay quiet anymore. Just make sure he pays for it." We formed a strong partnership, our feelings intense as we shared details and deepened our teamwork. Our closeness grew through supportive moments back in the city, our evenings together helping us strengthen our bond. As rain tapped on the window, Trudy lightly traced a finger on my arm and whispered, "This us. It's what keeps me going, even with his escape hanging over us." I pulled her closer, feelings rising in quiet agreement. "Me too. We've dealt with his tricks, the manipulation and lies. Together we are strong." "But the pregnancy news," she said softly, bringing up a difficult subject. "Did it affect you?" I nodded with determination. It stirred feelings, but it didn't change my mind. Her choices taking risks while pushing me away. It ends here. Our time together built trust, each moment strengthening our bond against growing threats. Every touch was a way to claim back what was ours. Digital clues narrowed down Arthur's escape, with tension rising as Trudy's team tracked him to a remote location. Alerts signaled our progress, each ping bringing us closer to finding him. "Ping from the mountains," she said, excitement in her voice as we looked at the map on the screen. "He's on the move. Authorities are closing in because of Sophia's information." I leaned in, determined to confront the unseen enemy. "How long? He can't get away again." "Just days if we share this information," she said, our plans overlapping. "His tactics are failing, ours are working." As we closed in on him, Jane's situation worsened. Her monitored messages showed her struggle, reaching out to others but hearing nothing back. The weight of her situation grew heavier as she spoke to a past friend. "I'm alone now. This baby. Everything help me, please. I didn't mean to—" The response was quick and harsh. "You made your choices, Jane, taking risks while lying to everyone. You have to live with it. Don't call me again." Her missed calls showed a downward spiral. Pleas to people she no longer spoke to fell silent. The weight of her pregnancy added to her loneliness. In one message, her voice shook as she spoke to an old friend. "I'm alone now. This baby, everything, please help me." The reply was brief. "You made your choice, Jane. Handle it." Her isolation echoed around her, and the reality of becoming a mother weighed heavily, highlighting her stagnation. The stress mounted, leading to a moment when she would have to face the consequences of her actions. After months of appeals and legal struggles, the courtroom was filled with tension, ready for what was to come. The lengthy testimonies grew like a storm gathering strength, thick with the expectation of judgment that had been delayed through Arthur's frantic attempts to fight back, each one building on the initial advantages we'd gained with John. His resources were dwindling as his assets were frozen, and evidence against him piled up. I sat quietly in the gallery, holding Trudy's hand as a calming presence. The familiar scent of aged wood mixed with the anxiety in the air as the judge resumed proceedings, his gavel marking the end of delays. Sophia took the spotlight, her testimony sharp and revealing Arthur's web of deceit. She laid out undeniable details of manipulation and wrongdoing without leaving room for doubt, each fact building on the patterns we'd identified from the start. "Your Honor," she said confidently, maintaining her composure with support from the prosecutor, her eyes fixed on Arthur with determination. "He masterminded everything, bribes, tricks, using me as a pawn while ruining lives, just like he did with Jane. Sweet talk quickly turning into control, empty promises hiding threats." Arthur's outburst shattered his careful facade as he jumped up, his voice rising in denial that clashed with the prosecutor's questions. "Lies! She's angry and making things up to protect herself. You can't trust her. She's the one who got me involved." "Order!" the judge commanded, his gavel banging with authority. Arthur continued, ignoring his lawyer's hand urging him to calm down. "She wanted in, said it would be exciting, just like Jane did." Sophia leaned forward, her response quick and assertive, fueling the ongoing clash. "Wanted in? You pressured me with job threats, offered promotions while hiding the truth. Admit it, you played us all, taking advantage when it suited you." The words lingered in the air, and Arthur's calmness began to crack under the knowing looks from everyone around. I let out a quiet sigh, feeling a sense of closure amidst the turmoil. This moment echoed his earlier bravado in court when he faced the charges. Jane's consequences followed, placing her in a tough spot. She lost her belongings and had to do hard work to repay what she owed. The judge's decision was clear after seeing her insincere efforts for change. She had attended therapy sessions but didn't show true remorse, and her probation reports highlighted her struggle to improve. "You took part willingly," the judge said firmly, looking straight at her. "You will do community service and have part of your wages taken to pay back what you owe. And about the child, your past will affect the custody evaluations. There are no shortcuts." Jane stood up, her voice shaking as she pleaded, trying to speak over the prosecutor's closing argument. "But the child, how can I take care of them now? It's so unfair. He pushed me into this." "That doesn't matter," the prosecutor said sharply. "Your actions got you here. You deceived your husband and planned against him while leaving yourself vulnerable. You need to face the truth, or you will lose everything." "But I've made efforts to change," she protested, desperation clear in her voice, referring to the therapy sessions we had seen reports about. "I've worked on myself. Please give me some credit." The judge simply shook his head, his decision firm. "Your attempts are shallow. Reports indicate you're avoiding real growth. The order stands." Her defenses crumbled. She felt defeated as her outreach attempts fell flat. Emails bounced back and calls went unanswered, with her pleas lost in silence. A memory flashed back to her earlier manipulations, where she denied our connection while risking starting something new with someone else. Now her regrets felt self-inflicted, and she struggled to find a way to change her situation. Arthur faced his own challenges. The loud sound of cell doors echoed around him, signaling a harsh new reality where former associates became inmates, and he was no longer in charge. His arrogance faded quickly through tough interactions, and the prison yard became a place where his failed attempts to get help faced him daily. A strong cellmate approached him during free time, blocking his path and speaking in a low voice. "Big shot outside, huh? I know about your games manipulating women and plotting against your own. Here, you're nothing. Fetch my tray or face the consequences." Arthur felt anger rise as he stood up, trying to sound brave. "You don't know who I am. My lawyers will—" A shove interrupted him, and the cellmate laughed harshly. "Lawyers? Your appeals failed. Everyone knows it. Sit down, or you'll find out the hard way. You can't buy your way out here." The power dynamics humiliated him even more, and Sophia's indifference sealed the deal. Through investigators, she sent a message that cut ties completely. Her words were clear. "He's on his own now, no more help from me. He will bear the consequences." Trudy's efforts spread like ripples from a stone thrown into still water, shaping our stories to support advocacy funds aimed at fighting against corporate wrongdoing and personal manipulation. Her quiet strength turned pain into change. Each workshop and hotline was a sign of the cycles we had broken, strengthening our resolve as we fought against what had harmed us. In a meeting with allies, she shared her vision. "These stories, without names, will fund hotlines and legal help transforming negatives into positives, preventing the wrongs we faced." A colleague nodded, showing support. It's time. How can we expand this? Should we include the embezzlement cases? Exactly, Trudy replied, her voice both friendly and strong. Connect it to corporate oversight, make it a permanent change. I reflected on the cycles we had broken, feeling a sense of peace in our shared space. I recognized that we were no longer trapped by betrayal, and our discussions helped me see the failures in Arthur's situation, how his fortune had turned against him, his tricks coming back to haunt him. Trudy's hand in mine felt reassuring, her soft voice breaking the stillness. We've come through this, the pain stops here, and the changes, they carry on. What about Jane? I wondered, thinking of her struggle. Her efforts seem shallow and don't hold up to scrutiny. It shows that taking action means something. Yes, she responded, our conversation flowing easily. Cycles end when we decide they've chosen to move towards the light. Meanwhile, Jane's regrets stayed unresolved, as societal pressures kept her from progressing. She remained isolated, her chances fading away. Her probation felt like a trap, and her half-hearted attempts at independence, like weak therapy notes and job applications, vanished without real change, leaving her stuck in a pattern of disappointment. In a small apartment, she spoke to empty rooms, her regrets clear during a tough phone call with a counselor. I'm trying, why isn't it enough? The rules are too strict. The counselor's response was calm, even as her frustration grew. You're trying? Yes, but just showing up isn't enough. You need to notice the patterns, manipulation, risks, or it won't work. Her regrets remained unchanged, and the barriers of society felt like blocked paths, her loneliness a price for choices she couldn't take back. Arthur felt the weight of his own isolation, the emptiness of his cell reminding him of how he had fallen. He walked back and forth, grumbling quietly to himself. They will pay for this. My appeals will work. Yet his voice faded, a reminder that his threats were losing power, overshadowed by the new opportunities forming outside his bars. Those opportunities promised to rebuild what had been lost, new successes rising from the challenges he faced. In a bright office with a view of the city, a new project was taking shape with Carl. We worked together, mapping out ideas on whiteboards for secure apps that protected against digital threats, each line of code a step away from our past experiences of betrayal. Carl dropped a blueprint on the table, smiling as he moved around the room, his excitement contrasting with the weeks of waiting we had just endured. This encryption? It's solid. Your ideas about user vulnerabilities complete it. Just think, David. We can turn Arthur's tricks against him and keep others safe. I nodded, feeling a mix of pride and caution. It adds a personal touch, prevents what happened to us. But we must consider real-time dangers, like his evasion programs. Carl leaned in, a spark of optimistic energy in his voice. Dangers? We have Trudy's audits to support us. His assets are frozen, and that weakens him. Let's push harder. This is not just about profit. It's about getting even. It felt good to collaborate, turning past pain into a meaningful purpose. The sounds around us, the scratch of markers, the hum of computers kept us grounded as memories of Arthur's mocking smirks came to mind, motivating us to rise above. Artistic collaborations thrived in Trudy's studio, filled with canvases and sketches. Sophia worked on her designs, creating pieces that shared stories of overcoming challenges. Each artwork explored feelings of being trapped and the joy of breaking free, reflecting the paths we had taken together. Sophia shared a sketch, her voice friendly and warm as she laid it on the table. This piece shows the feeling of being trapped, but also the joy of escaping. Does it fit your theme? I was inspired by those experiences, just like Jane had. Trudy looked at it and smiled, appreciating how it enhanced their work together. It's perfect. Your ability to highlight contrasts makes it powerful, turns hardship into strength. I watched them, wanting to join in. It's about healing, turning our struggles into bold statements, but those shadows in the corner remind me of the control he had over us. Sophia agreed, her honesty clear. Exactly. He thought he could treat us like objects, but this piece? It's our way of reclaiming our stories. Emotions filled the room as creativity flowed, building our futures with small, meaningful promises. After long nights in the studio, whispers of commitment turned into a special bond. Trudy's ring became a symbol of our growing connection, and the proposal was not made with big gestures but through deep conversations that addressed the challenges we faced, including Trudy's health issues that we both had to confront. As we sat there with the scent of paint in the air, she placed the ring on her finger and asked softly, "After everything we have been through, the challenges he made fun of, and our dreams on hold, are we ready for this?" I held her hand, feeling a wave of hope and affirmation. "We've worked through it. Therapy has helped us turn hurt into strength. Yes, we're ready. And the adoption? It's not rushing into anything. It's about taking back what was taken from us." She leaned in, and we sealed our commitment with a reassuring kiss. We began to explore the path of adoption, filling out forms with care, knowing that every signature was a step toward building our family, a bond formed not just by blood but by love and shared experiences. Arthur's attempt to break in turned into a frantic scene. Late one night, alarms went off as shadows moved outside the studio. It was tense, and we had been following reports from the prison about rising fights. His boldness had put him at odds with the power structure inside, and it seemed like his anger boiled over into this desperate act. The quick response from the police, thanks to our extra measures, led to his capture. Sirens filled the air as officers pulled him away from the broken window, his angry words ringing out. "You think this is over for me? I will take you all down, Trudy. You thought ruining my life was enough?" I stood firm in the doorway, my voice steady and challenging. The irony of his fall, caused by his own arrogance, drove my words. "It's finished, Arthur. Your tricks have caught up to you. Those fights in prison, they weakened you for this." He struggled against the handcuffs, yelling over the officer's commands. "Weakened? Ilsu, you'll regret this." Trudy stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. "Sue, your resources are gone. The system you ignored in prison, it brought you down first. Accept it. You're done." His attempt to escape ended with him in handcuffs, adding a twist to the story of our victory. Reports later confirmed that the prison troubles were the reason for it all, his tough exterior cracking under the weight of his choices, leading to a failed revenge attempt. My thoughts drifted to Jane, imagining her wandering the streets, lost and struggling, after failing her chances to get back on track. Arthur's legal battles crumbled in courtrooms where the truth kept him from rising again. I saw her in one moment sitting under a bridge asking for help. "Spare change. I used to mean something manipulated but still trying." A passing stranger quickly brushed her off, their indifference hurtful. "Trying? Move along." In another vision, I saw Arthur's case rejected in a cold hearing, the judge's gavel sounding firmly. "Denied overwhelming evidence, appeals gone." Feelings from these scenes were heavy, showing how choices shape paths. The irony of his dislike for weakness becoming his downfall was stark. I felt gratitude for where I was, taking a moment to reflect on how far I had come. Carl's business was growing, and we were building a strong bond as we worked through adoption steps with care. The lessons from our past helped me appreciate the journey. Each achievement felt like a meaningful celebration of growth from hard times, marking our progress as a steady rhythm. Trudy held me close as the sun began to set on the studio balcony. "We've come a long way," she said softly, giving me a reassuring squeeze. "From the challenges we faced to this family is within reach." "And what about the issues we dealt with?" I asked, still feeling some uncertainty. "Your struggles, my mistakes. We've talked about everything." She nodded, her voice calm and soothing. "Yes, therapy helped us. I am thankful for the journey it created." The situation with Arthur ended dramatically after a serious incident with other inmates. His behavior led to a fight that became too intense to handle, and it marked the end of a troubled chapter, showing the consequences of his arrogance. Reports about the fight described it clearly, but his last words were lost in the noise. "You will regret this, let me go." Sophia's journey showed how she found her own path through therapy and new opportunities, reflecting the growth we all experienced. She sent a quick message during a studio session. "Thank you for encouraging me to change and for showing me his patterns." Trudy responded with supportive words in our group. "You did the hard work. Welcome to a brighter future." The possibilities ahead looked promising, strong connections forming as we moved toward renewal. Our experiences brought us together, creating a foundation for lasting change, leaving the past behind as we focused on a brighter future. The final decisions were made in a courtroom filled with morning light as the judge laid out the terms for Jane. She received supervised freedoms with counseling and community service required. The past lingered as the rules ensured she had to stay responsible. I stood in the gallery with Trudy, the air filled with the warmth of polished wood and resolution, as the judge explained the terms, his gavel ready to mark the ending of our long journey. "Your actions need guidance," the judge declared, his voice firm as he looked at Jane. "You will have supervised release for 2 years. Therapy is necessary, and we will keep an eye on your finances. If you fail, we will have to start over." And about the child, custody evaluations will focus on stability. Paternity was confirmed to be the co-defendant's, and support is required from remaining resources. However, primary care will go to you under strict guidelines, no tricks, no shortcuts. Jane stood stiffly, her voice shaky at first, then rising as she confronted the prosecutor while gripping the railing. "Your Honor, how can I raise the child under these rules? The deductions leave me with nothing. It's too much. I was pushed into this situation. Arthur took chances that were unwise." "That's not relevant," the prosecutor interrupted sharply, overlapping her plea. "Your choices misleading your husband and acting carelessly led to this outcome. The evaluations will decide if you are fit to be a parent, show that you've changed, or you could lose more." "But I'm going to therapy," she replied, frustration clear in her voice. "Is that not enough? It feels unfair. Give me some credit for my efforts." The judge shook his head, his ruling steady and clear. "Efforts? The report suggests you are avoiding real engagement, saying sorry without meaning it. The rule stands. Custody is based on your compliance." She slumped, looking at me with a hollow plea. "David, please say something. This affects us all, the baby." I met her gaze calmly, my voice quiet but firm in the silence. "Your choices, Jane, making risky decisions while pushing me aside. This is your path now." The gavel struck, and her shoulders fell, emotions lingering in the acceptance of her limited options. The weight of her choices felt constant, and the unresolved pregnancy was now a heavy burden in her probation, with evaluations ahead as a challenge she seemed unprepared for. Later, we found joy in a garden filled with soft afternoon light. Trudy and I exchanged vows before a small group of friends. Carl officiated with a smile, and Sophia witnessed our union. The event was warm, filled with friendly conversations that flowed like the vines overhead. Our marriage represented a joyful reclaiming of our lives, each word and glance building upon the vulnerabilities we faced in therapy. "Do you, David, take Trudy to cherish through everything?" Carl asked, his voice strong yet gentle, sunlight filtering through the leaves to create beautiful patterns on the grass. "I do," I replied, feeling a deep joy, my eyes fixed on her. A memory flashed in my mind of her past struggles with Arthur, his cruel remarks about her being unable to have children. Now, our bond felt like a victory. "With everything I am, through all the ups and downs." "And you, Trudy?" Carl asked, his smile widening. "Absolutely," she said, her smile bright as she put on the ring. Her voice mixed with mine in agreement. To build, to heal together, no more harm. The kiss that followed marked a new beginning, with soft plans for finalizing the adoption soon, a child to complete our family, built from pieces of our past. The paperwork moved slowly, respecting Trudy's earlier struggles, and our conversation that evening touched on our journey with deep care. As guests chatted, she pulled me aside, her hand on my arm warm and questioning. About the adoption given my past and his taunts. Are we moving too fast? I shook my head, my voice steady. We've thought this through. Therapy helped us heal and grow. This child, it's our choice, not a solution to our problems. She nodded, facing her worries directly. You're right, his hurtful words don't define us. This is a fresh start. Our conversation added to the happiness of the day, the ceremony leading us into new opportunities. In the following weeks, we organized efforts to help others through workshops and support funds, sharing our story to connect with those who had faced similar challenges. Each session became a way to explore patterns of struggle and strength, turning our personal experiences into community support. At a fundraising event, Trudy spoke to the group, her voice inspiring as she shared our story while keeping some details private. We've been through tough times, manipulations, and self-doubt. But breaking free? It starts with recognizing the problem. These funds will help ensure no one faces it alone. Afterward, a woman approached us, her voice curious yet grateful. Your story is so similar to mine. How did you manage to confront it? By naming it, Trudy answered, her tone understanding and firm. The unhealthy patterns like flattery to gain control end when we share our experiences. Join us. Turn your struggles into a cause for change. Our efforts continued, nurturing emotions and offering satisfaction as we connected with others. Workshops blossomed into networks that broke cycles of harm. Sophia joined us with gratitude, bringing her own energy and commitment to our shared purpose. Over coffee one morning in the studio, she looked at me with honesty. I owe you both for helping me escape his grip, for uncovering the truth before it was too late. Trudy dismissed the praise gently, her tone warm yet reflective. You found your own strength just like we did. Therapy guided us all toward understanding the past and breaking free from old patterns. Sophia took a deep breath, facing her past head-on. Choice? He didn't give us that treating us like objects. But now, I'm choosing to start fresh. No more staying quiet. The group nodded in understanding, and our conversations became a comforting blend of shared experiences that turned our pain into strength. As we went through old documents in our home office, we found bits of our past that had once hurt us, but now they brought feelings of relief. We saved copies of everything in John's secure files as part of our plan, which made it feel like we were letting go of that pain. Clearing out these documents helped us feel lighter with each click. This video, the first one, I said softly, as memories came back to me while the screen lit up with familiar images. It hurt me a lot back then. It showed what they were planning. Trudy leaned closer, reassuring me with her touch. And now, we're stronger. Are the backups safe? Then we can let it go. It's symbolic, not a complete erase. We clicked delete, smiles on our faces as the weight of the past faded like morning fog. It was a careful goodbye that respected how far we'd come. As we stood together on the balcony looking over the city, we felt a warmth around us. Our voices blended together, filled with hope for the future, the lights of the skyline mirroring our newly hopeful outlook. We chose this, she said simply, giving my hand a gentle squeeze and resting her head on my shoulder. Yes, I replied, pulling her even closer to chase away any remaining doubts. From his taunts to this adoption papers signed. Our new venture about to begin. No regrets here. She lifted her head, her voice bright with happiness. None. The shadows are disappearing. A new beginning is ahead. The echoes of deceit weighed heavily on us. Jane's freedoms were taken away, and she struggled under constant supervision, her spirit worn down by tiring jobs and lonely nights. Her mistakes piled up, and her challenges grew heavier during the custody battles where stability was favored over her pleas. News reports showed Jane facing a hearing for her violations, her desperate voice ringing out in the documents. I made mistakes still trapped by memories. Please give me another chance for my child. Your freedoms are gone, the judge declared, and Jane's situation only got tougher under the close monitoring, her regrets becoming a never-ending cycle. Meanwhile, Arthur's legal battles faded as his appeals were denied, his situation deteriorating from his own choices. Reports revealed his missteps, showing how confrontations in the yard led to unfortunate outcomes, his own decisions sealing his fate. The last papers were turned away. A note from the clerk said, "Denied forever. No one argued against it." The bright hopes faded away, ending that part of our story. Our strong connection held as we moved into the new day. The city came to life beneath us, and our future appeared wide open, full of possibilities. The warmth of her hug felt like a last sign of support.